Hi, can you guys hear me? Am I here? Do you see me? Hello, hello. Yes, no, yes, no. Yes, hi. Okay, yay. Yay, yay, yay. All right, everybody. Yes, hi. Yay, hello. Oh, first time chat. Josias. Hi. Hi, hi, hi. I had to put on my glasses so I could read, and then I was like, I gotta put up my hair, and I was cold. First time chat. Anna is lazy. Hello, welcome, welcome, everybody. Okay. Luigi's ride or die. Oh yeah, if you're here early, refresh. Okay, yeah, refresh. Thank you, Virgo. I need to make you. I'm actually gonna make you a mod today. I'm gonna do it, and Child of the Reach too. Hi everybody. You guys know I can't see how many people are in here. It like doesn't update for me. So when we get around 100, when we get close to 100 people, let me know, and then we'll start. Chairman Fork sleeping. Chairman Fork was so bad. Oh my god. Chairman Fork was so bad this weekend. She was getting into all. She heard me say her name. Oh no, that's the cat. Never mind. She got into so much trouble. She was just up to shenanigans. Yesterday, she was so upset all day. She was like super erratic and like just wanted attention and was like on a tear and like screaming and being so bad. She wouldn't let me and my partner pay any attention to each other. It was literally like if we touched each other, she was like, me. And I like played with her so much. I got her a new toy. Like I got her new treats. Like I went above and beyond for this little dog this weekend. Absolutely no. She was destroying. Okay, 57. All right, we'll wait a little bit. Yeah, did you guys see Cattail? This is the Cattail. So we've got Zay and Chairman Fork. Oh. 68 viewers. Okay, we'll wait for a few more maybe. What if nobody comes though? Oh, come here, Sissy. You can't stand on that. What if you shut down the stream? I know. I'm so sorry. She got so mad. Oh, you got People's History. That's good. That's a really good, like, first read. Like, Howard Zinn's kind of an anarchist, but, like, the history is so solid in that book. I think it is really, really good. So I got kicked out of like every government and history class I had in high school. I don't know if I've told you guys this. Oh, hype training coming from Hoomst. And they finally put me in a class. They found a class that was taught by a card-carrying member of the Communist Party back in the day. And that's the class I ended up getting put in. And he taught the actual textbook along with printed out photocopied pages from People's History and was like, compare the two. And that was how he taught it, which is cool. You should go to Malta if you can ever afford it. Oh, honeymoon in Malta. It's so cool. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, we have a hype train. Cute. Was the week's trip to Malta the precursor to moving to Malta psychosis? Or okay, I just got fascinated with it, and one of the things I've realized is that I'm very fascinated with micronations. So I want to go to, what is the one, Pirnestrovia next? I want to go to, there's one I almost went to over the summer. Oh, it's north of Spain. It's in between Spain and France. Oh, I'm going to look it up. Hold on. Micronation north of Spain. Andorra is the one. So I've realized that's what I'm really interested in. So I do love Malta, and I've been back since then because I love it so much. I would love to move to Malta one day. It's very expensive though. I don't know if I can afford it. Yeah. So yeah, landlord Madeline visiting Luxembourg. You know me. Rich people from Spain go to Andorra to avoid taxes. Oh, okay. Got it. Cool. Good to know for all my landlording. Augustine. Comrade Angels. Hello. Hi. Welcome. Welcome. YouTubers? Really? They're on the hustle. The most controversial thing about me is that I appreciate someone doing tax evasion. I'm like, look at you. You go. Oh, shared the live. Oh, yay. Red Army. Oh, cool. Yay. Okay, thank you. Oh, finished the cinnamon rolls. Nice. All right. How many people we have in here right now? Andorra is full of YouTubers? I had no idea. See, I need to experience that. 85 is pretty good. 85 is pretty good. Maybe we'll get started. Okay, so today I thought we would do what we've talked about. Let's talk about a domestic issue. We could talk about Somaliland. We'll talk about a foreign policy issue. Comrade Angels, I think social democracy is a branch of fascism, but I'd be called crazy. I don't think that's crazy. I think that they are running interference. They are opposition party to make sure true left-wing politics don't take hold. I think you are correct. And then the third thing we'll do is maybe we'll do a little bit of Marxist reading, just like something about that. Trump just talked peace deals with Zelensky. I have that pulled up from Politico. And then let's look up the Somaliland too and see what's going on with that. Okay. We've got some Ilhan Omar. China opposes recognition of Somaliland, affirms support for Somalia. We're going to look at all of this stuff. Somaliland recognized by Israel. Okay, cool. So we're going to do that. And then the Marxist love consultation. Do political compass test and explain your choices as you go. We could do that. Is that boring? Political compass isn't very good. I don't think it's very good. I always end up in the anarchist quadrant no matter what my beliefs are. And it's literally because I don't hate gay people. It's like, so you're an anarchist. ACP wrote the political compass, just in. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm going to go to screen share. Let's see. I got the chat. Did you guys see that? Can you see the chat? I did that. I figured out how to put the chat there. Huh? Right? All right. So I'm a hacker now, basically, is what we're talking about. I also figured out how to mirror the camera. So, because I felt like it was weird, seeing myself, not myself. So, yeah, we could do that at the end. Let's do that. Your girlfriend left you? Oh my God. What did you do to her? How did you hurt her? Sorry, I'm sorry. It's probably not what you want to hear right now. I'm sure you were a wonderful partner. Oh, they're transitioning. Oh, I'm so sorry. Then I take back assuming you somehow wronged her. Okay, so the article I pulled up here is Ilhan Omar's Somaliland stance slammed as Minnesota fraud scandal deepens. You guys know me in Minnesota. We have some beef going way back. We also have this China opposes recognition of Somaliland, affirms support for Somalia. And we have Somaliland celebrates recognition by Israel, protests in Mogadishu. So I think we should start with China if Reuters lets us, because I hit a paywall last time. So let's see. Here we have the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian attending a press conference in Beijing. So China opposes any attempt to split territories in Somalia, the foreign ministry in Beijing said on Monday, 3 days after Israel became the first country to formally recognize the self-declared Republic of Somaliland as an independent state. And just so you guys know, this is not a subject I have previous background on. So the extent of my background on this is general AFRICOM background, so we'll be learning together about this. Oh yeah, I got canceled for disliking Minnesota because I said it was too cold and there was a lot of roadkill. Everyone on Minnesota shared it on Facebook and tried to cancel me. The funniest part is I did reviews like that of every single state and only Minnesota reacted that way. So what had been like a lighthearted critique of Minnesota, I now actually hate them because I'm like, who would respond that way to something so lighthearted? Like, they're a deeply sensitive people. Okay, first time chat, giraffes are cool from Minnesota, can confirm it's cold and there's too much roadkill. I didn't even think it was that mean of a critique. I was like, not for me. They had pistachio milk lattes though, and that was lovely. That was it. They were so mad. Okay, so back on this. We've got military spokesperson Lin Jian telling reporters no country should encourage or support other countries' internal separatist forces for selfish interests. I mean, China definitely has a reason to say that. They have been the victim of multiple separatist attempts backed by the West in order to weaken them. So I think that makes sense that they would have that opinion. Look at all these fucking ads also, Jesus. Whoever told me I need to get ad blocker, you were right. He urged authorities in Somaliland to stop separatist activities and collusion with external forces. Somaliland has enjoyed... Hold on. I kind of like make this a little smaller for me here. Yeah, okay, that's better. Somaliland has enjoyed effective autonomy and relative peace and stability since 1991 when Somalia descended into civil war, but the breakaway region has failed to receive recognition from any other country. Israel said on Friday it would seek immediate cooperation with Somaliland in agriculture, health, technology, and the economy. Okay, so this is telling me that there's economic opportunity probably there, right, that Israel wants its hands on. Somalia condemned the move as an unlawful step and a deliberate attack on its sovereignty. South Africa's Foreign Affairs Ministry on Monday, sorry, I just choked. Oh, Bether, you have an eventful life right now. Girlfriend left you because she's transitioning and there's major police activity outside of your house. What's going on for Bether? Bether's in the chat. South Africa's Foreign Affairs Ministry on Monday urged the international community to reject this external interference and support a united, stable Somalia. So we should probably find the background on this because, again, this is not something I'm super familiar with. So let's see what we can dig up on here. Council on Foreign Relations could be interesting. They're a conservative bias, so we could look up them and just know that. What would be really good is if we had a responsible statecraft article about it. Let's see. Oh, yes. Here we go. So I actually like, I've told you this before, I like responsible statecraft sometimes because it is like a normie anti-interventionist slant. So it's kind of like the most anti-interventionist you can get within the mainstream accepted bubble of like the imperialist hole we're in. I would not say they are politically sound, but I would say their takes on foreign policy are useful, if that makes sense. So, oh, the transitioning girlfriend was someone else. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I mixed everybody up. Oh, I failed. Oh, Bether 20. Oh my God. Okay. I'm so sorry. The B's confused me. Bell. Okay. I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry. I failed you. Okay. So what we're learning so far is, yeah, the separatist movement Israel supports and China doesn't. So some red flags, right? So we're going to go back to 2021 to get some background on this and look at this responsible statecraft article, how Somaliland is playing its geostrategic cards better than most. And remember, this is an American outlet that's more libertarian leaning. So they are more right-wing politically, but they also, because they're like, we don't want to spend money, they kind of oppose a lot of American intervention. So I feel like their foreign policy takes are, again, useful for us, but their politics are bad. So I just want to put that out there. Nobody go thinking responsible statecraft is the best source in the world, please. The unrecognized but independent Republic of Somaliland is a rare success story in that part of the world, yet the impressive progress the country has made across multiple fronts could be yet imperiled by growing regional instability. So these are capitalism guys, so that probably means that they're doing something capitalist that they love. I don't know. In neighboring Ethiopia, a country that has made great economic strides, civil war threatens to permanently fragment the nation. In Sudan, oh, this is back kind of foreshadowing about Sudan. In Sudan, the government has fallen to yet another coup. At the same time, Sudan is also engaged in low-level hostilities with Ethiopia over a contested border. To the south of Somaliland, in Somalia, the terrorist group Al-Shabaab gains more ground by the day. The Horn of Africa is perennially unstable. I wonder why. But the current period of instability outside of Somaliland looks like it will be prolonged and particularly violent. They're unstable because they have access to a lot of natural resources that Western imperialist powers want. So we try to get them in all sorts of shady ways. But inside, the country of 3.5 million people has successfully held multiple internationally monitored competitive democratic elections followed by peaceful transitions of power. Despite the challenges posed by the world's responses to COVID-19, Somaliland most recently held parliamentary elections without incident in May 2021. Over the course of the 3 decades since it declared its independence from Somalia, Somaliland has slowly but steadily built out its institutions and economy. It has made significant gains in the area of governance, education and environment, and counterterrorism. Somaliland has done this with little outside aid in the face of efforts by the United States and other nations to stubbornly ignore such gains. The lack of large amounts of outside aid and interference may be one of the reasons for Somaliland's success. Rather than having solutions imposed on it by outside powers, its institutions have developed in organic ways that are best suited to its societal context. So this is what I think is really interesting about the source. They're weirdly anti-imperialist, but very pro-capitalism. It's a very interesting position. And it's obviously a contradiction because, as Lenin said, imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism. Capitalism will always inevitably give way to imperialism. But this is the same kind of ideology and mindset that will tell you capitalism's not the problem, crony capitalism is. And you're like, that's just capitalism. That's just how capitalism works. It's all the same thing. So they have a very interesting perspective here. But what I will say is that they're highlighting that imperialism is bad for developing nations. So one of the things they're talking about here, rather than having solutions imposed on it by outside powers, this would be, for example, the IMF or the World Bank showing up and saying, hey, if you want money from us to help your economy, you've got to play ball with us. And what that usually means is austerity measures, which don't allow them to invest in themselves in their own country. So I'm guessing that's what they're referencing with this. So Somaliland-driven development and the lack of large amounts of aid have combined to produce institutions that are resilient rather than brittle and dependent. See, the lack of large amounts of aid. This is important, and this is the basis for North Korea's Juche ideology, right? They're like, we don't want aid. We don't want to exist on aid. We want the freedom to develop our own economy and our own systems that benefit us. That includes trade. Outside trade is great, but the second you start just getting aid from other countries, they kind of, throttle you, right? They start telling you what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, how you're allowed to spend money, how you're not allowed to spend money. And it becomes an excuse for them not to allow you to have trade opportunities. So this is why in the 90s, when North Korea, for example, had that massive famine, they were begging for the sanctions to be lifted so that they could trade with other countries. And the United States was like, no, we'll only give you aid. And they were like, that's not what we want. Like, we want trade, not aid. Because aid is very tightly controlled. And additionally, it's worth noting that the United States, like, look at USAID, right? The United States uses foreign aid, right, as cover to very often engage in regime change operations. We did this famously. Oliver North had a history of doing this in the United States in his tenure working under the presidency, in Nicaragua, right, and other places as well. He would literally send in aid, and there would be food and grains, like hiding and concealing weapons intended for oppositional groups to do regime change. And that's why, different countries, I think Venezuela is one of them, when the United States was offering to send them aid, Maduro was like, absolutely fucking not, like, because I do not trust you. And there's a good reason for that, because the United States does this. So what they're saying here is that Somaliland's economic development has been driven by a lack of large amounts of aid. We find that the aid is not helpful. And that's why, liberals love USAID. They love it. And they don't understand that it's not kind. It's not benevolent. It's a tool of regime change and control. Oh, 124 views. Okay, cool. We're getting up there. Yay. So they've combined to produce institutions that are resilient rather than brittle and dependent. And this is, I think, really important. However, there are limits to what a nation can achieve without the clarity and predictability that accompanies recognized nation-state status. Somaliland is now pushing up against those limits. For example, the country is struggling with youth unemployment that was in excess of 70% before COVID lockdowns. Somaliland is also grappling with several 100,000 refugees from neighboring countries. The civil war in neighboring Ethiopia has already resulted in large numbers of additional refugees crossing into Somaliland. As the war worsens, which is likely, the inflow of refugees will increase further. A large influx, including displaced persons from Ethiopia's ethnic Somali region, has the potential to overwhelm Somaliland's chronically underfunded institutions. At a time when Somaliland is grappling with that fallout, it must also navigate heightened competition between regional and global powers. So this is, I think, going to be really relevant for us understanding Somaliland today. Somaliland and Somalia are both viewed by China, Russia, Qatar, Turkey, and the UAE as the eastern door to Africa's vast natural resources. And we know now, obviously, the United Arab Emirates funding, right, Sudan with the RSF, basically doing civil war in Sudan. So, Yes, if Virgo's so right. If Ned is the CIA's little brother, USAID is Ned's little brother. So true. So all of these nations are competing with one another for influence and access to the Horn of Africa. But we also know the way China has been engaging in Africa has been Belt and Road initiatives. It's been to build infrastructure. It's not the same way Russia, Qatar, Turkey, UAE. I mean, Russia hasn't even been engaging in it that same way in Africa as we see. It's a little different how it manifests. That quote I always talk about, right? There was the one leader of an African country who said, when Europe comes to Africa, we get a lecture. When China comes to Africa, we get a hospital. And so that's the difference in how China's engaging with us. So far, Somaliland has tried and largely succeeded in pursuing foreign policy that balances these competing interests. In July of 2020, its government agreed to exchange ambassadors with Taiwan in defense of China. Okay, so this is going to be super interesting. Going against the wishes of Beijing is rare among the most powerful nations and companies, and rarer still among those with little power. Somaliland's decision was driven by its determination to continue to chart its own course and desire to maintain good relations with the United States and the United Kingdom. So somebody said earlier, is this another Israel? This is feeling like another Israel. Or Taiwan. And probably more like another Taiwan. Its current government, led by President Muse Bihi Abdi, could not be clearer about desire for an abiding and mutually beneficial relationship with Washington. However, the leader of Somaliland's opposition party, Abdurrahman Mohammed Abdullahi, has questioned the Bihi administration over its ties with Taiwan. So that's interesting. There are people within the borders who aren't super into that either. Abdurrahman cited Beijing's willingness to commit vast amounts of money to regional development. The logic of Abdurrahman's argument is sound and will undoubtedly appeal to some Somalilanders when he runs against President Bihi in the 2022 presidential elections. China, which has run circles around the United States and Africa and Latin America, routinely uses loans and investments to entangle developing countries in a web of debt. So you remember when I told you they're not super into imperialism, but they love capitalism. So they are eager to kind of throw China under the bus and be like, debt trap, debt trap. We all know China's not doing a debt trap in Africa. That's projection. That's what the United States and the West has been doing. That's not what China is doing. And the loans China gives, very, very low interest. And if you miss a payment, they're just like, okay, Oh, hydrate. Fuck. I gotta go get water. I need to start bringing water in. See, you guys are really gonna get me drinking more water with us. This is good. Water break. My kitchen is dirty. Nobody judge it if you see the background. Hold on. Water break. Oh my God, do we have poly propaganda in the chat? I love it. If yes, I love. Oh no, I'm holding my laptop with one hand. Holding it. Well, you can see the dirt then. That's good. I hit it. Ha-ha! My sink's just full of stuff. Poly propaganda love. My partner actually had a very wholesome, my New York partner had a wholesome Christmas. So they went with their other partner to their other partner's family's house because they're like born and raised New Yorkers. And I'm trying to think of the best way I can use names. Okay, so my New York partner is named Tori, and they have 3 people that they're seriously dating. So there's me, and we've been together off and on for like 16 years, for forever, but we live across the country from each other, so it's hard to see each other sometimes. So there's me, and then there's somebody named Gideon, and then there's somebody named Riley. So Tori went with Gideon to their family's house, and Riley made a whole bunch of ceramics as Christmas gifts for Gideon and their family, which is so cute. And they went, and they were just like, crash course in poly life, mom and dad. Like, these are from Tori's other partner as holiday gifts, which is so cute and sweet. Very, very wholesome. So I like that. Okay. So, all right, we're back on this. We're back on Somali. We're off of poly life. Gay. Yeah, very, very gay. Everybody's very, very gay. Oh, thank you. Beatrice Peaches gifted some subs, some tier 1 subs. Yes. Polyamorous people here eating in front of the hungry. Oh, Beatrice, thank you. We love Beatrice. Claim them, claim them. So sweet. Yay. So nice. Okay, so, let's see. Back on Somaliland. Today, Circito, today we are talking about being gay, polyamory, and Somaliland. So that's what we're doing. We're not like those other internet communists. We're gay. So, all right, back on this. For those of you who just joined, we're on Responsible Statecraft, which is a libertarian rag. So they are anti-imperialist, which is interesting, but they love capitalism and hate communism. And we're talking about Somaliland from their perspective from 2021 as a backstory. You're gay, but not poly nor a Somalilander. That's okay. You're still welcome here. Yes. All right. So they're saying they're about to talk some shit on China. So everybody clutch your pearls. I know. I don't like it either. Investment and loans are both a part of China's successful soft power foreign policy in much of the developing world. However, Somaliland's current government and many of its citizens are aware that the aid and loans offered by China will come at a high price. It does not. Due to Somaliland's relationship with Taiwan, it is unlikely that China will fully recognize it. In turn, most Somalilanders are also keen to protect their hard-won democratic form of government. Girly Pop Amber, cute. Bi counts. Yes, you're gay. I'm bisexual too. Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. The pressure that Somaliland faces will only increase in the months and years ahead. The ramifications of the possible dissolution of Ethiopia as a cohesive state will reverberate across the Horn of Africa. Somaliland, like other Horn of Africa nations, will be hard-pressed to insulate itself from the fallout of the fragmentation of Africa's second most populous country. Ethiopia's civil war is also occurring at a time when developing and developed nations alike face rising energy costs and food inflation, as well as ongoing economic disruptions resulting from responses to COVID. Such challenges will test every country in the Horn of Africa and beyond. More than ever, Somaliland deserves and needs international recognition. This is where their capitalism shit comes in. For the great strides it has made to establish a democratic and durable government. The United States has an opportunity to solidify its relationship with a nation that has proven record of adhering to the values and forms of governance that it supports. Very capitalist, okay? However, the window on this opportunity is likely to close. At some point in the near future, circumstances and necessity will force Somalilanders to choose a side. Aid from China might prove more convincing than empty rhetoric from Washington. Okay, so this is written by Michael Horton. He's from the Jamestown Foundation, and he's a co-founder of Red Sea Analytics International. Let's look this guy up. I always like to look up the authors to kind of get their vibe. No, not the actor. Let's see. Not the theologist either. Here we go. Let's look up RSAI with him. We're going to learn about this guy. Who's teaching us about Somaliland? Jamestown Foundation. This is him. He has briefed senior members of the U.S. National Security Council, the U.S. State Department, and British Foreign Ministry, British Ministry of Defense, as well as members of British Parliament and U.S. Congress. So this is a government guy. So when I tell you guys, this is why I think Responsible Statecraft is interesting, but I don't think they're like their perspective is bad, but the information is interesting. This is why. So these are State Department guys who are like war and intervention might be bad for us. And it's an interesting perspective to take in as a Marxist when you're assessing and taking in information from a lot of different places. So basically what we learn from this perspective is that, that Somaliland is very capitalist. They're trying to, build a bridge, a friendship bridge, right, with other separatist movements in Taiwan that threaten kind of the sovereignty of China. And advisors who have worked with the United States think that the United States should as early as 2021, we're like, United States should get in on this. This is going to be beneficial for the United States and our messaging. So this is what kind of the U.S. perspective on this is. Now, that's why when we looked at this Reuters article, China was like, hey, it's fucked up that anybody is supporting separatist movements anywhere. Because they're thinking about them in Taiwan. They're like, this is what you guys are doing to us with Taiwan. This is what you're doing with Somalia and Somaliland. Okay. Why be separatists when they can just reclaim their homeland in Minnesota, though? Exactly. So that's what's going on here. Now, let's move on to what interests me next is this Council of Foreign Relations article. You guys are seeing me basically do research in real time because this is not a subject I'm super familiar with. So this is my like overview. I'm like, okay, I'm learning a little. We're learning a little. We're piecing it together. So this article is from 2025, but the beginning of the year, which I think is going to be interesting. And Council of Foreign Relations also has good kind of foreign policy stuff, but they are like a pro-capitalist rag. So they say, let's see how long this is. Yeah, this isn't so bad. We can read this together. Somaliland has been a self-governing region of Somalia for more than 3 decades, but its claim of independence is not recognized by Mogadishu or any foreign government. Well, this has limited Somaliland's access to international markets. Yeah, I always skip the AI overview. Like, that's bullshit. They're not telling you anything. Yeah, doing research while the chat goes gay. This is a pure communist autistic experience. Like, this is us in our truest form, people. So, let's see. Well, this has limited Somaliland's access to international markets. It has not prevented the breakaway state from making steady democratic gains. And remember, when you hear democracy, think capitalism. Some analysts say Somaliland, which has a distinct history and remains more stable than the rest of Somalia, has a strong case for independence. Others fear that international recognition would encourage other secessionist movements in Africa. In recent years, Somaliland has unilaterally struck major port investment deals with foreign powers, including Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates, raising tensions with Somalia and further provoking friction in the broader Horn of Africa region. So here's a map. This is nice. Here's Somalia. Here's Puntland. Here's Somaliland. Somaliland is part of Somalia and the larger Horn of Africa in the region. It has hundreds of miles of coastline along the Gulf of Aden to the north, and it borders Ethiopia to the south and west and Djibouti to the northwest. Puntland, a semi-autonomous state of Somalia that lies due east, disputes some of Somaliland's territorial claims. I saw somebody earlier talking about Puntland in the chat as well. The population of Somaliland is 4.3 million. So it's like, what, the size of Los Angeles? I think it's pretty small. 4.3 million is not much. You guys know I always like to compare it to something American. Yeah, it's around 4 million. Okay, so both are around 4 million. So it's slightly more populous than Los Angeles. This is a socialist live stream. Of course, we're all autistic. Of course. So, Somaliland broke ties with Somalia's government in Mogadishu after declaring independence in 1991, and the region has sought international recognition as an independent state since then. No foreign government recognizes its sovereignty, but many effectively acknowledge Somaliland as separate from Somalia. It has held several peaceful democratic elections since 2003. The United States, France, the United Kingdom, and the European Union sent delegations to observe their 2017 presidential elections. And the territory's 2024 electoral contest was one of only 5 elections in Africa that voted in an opposition party called Wadani and enjoyed a peaceful vote. Somaliland's history as a distinct region of Somalia dates back to the late 19th century. The territory was a British protectorate until 1960, when it unified with the rest of present-day Somalia, which had been under Italian rule. Just the way Europe carved up Africa is so unforgivable. The merger faced challenges early on, with many in Somaliland rejecting the centralization of power in the country's south. A rebel group, the Somali National Movement, emerged in Somaliland in the 1980s, opposing the military junta of President Siad Barre, which seized power in 1969. In January of 91, the Somali National Movement and other insurgent groups ousted Barre, whose forces had killed tens of thousands of Somalilanders and destroyed much of the region's infrastructure. I'd be interested in learning more about that. That's something, a pin in it for another day. SNM refused to recognize an interim government led by another militia group, and in May it declared Somaliland's independence, with the city of Hargeisa as the capital. Let's see. Delegates took a decade to thrash out a new constitution for Somaliland, which voters overwhelmingly approved in 2001. The referendum saw a transition from a power-sharing agreement among certain clans to a multi-party democracy, so capitalism. Although some international observers applauded the peaceful vote, no government recognized the process. So what's their case for independence? They think that they meet most of the requirements of a sovereign democratic state. They hold free and fair elections. They have their own currency and security forces. They issue their own passports. That's a major one. It also says that this independence claim is consistent with the longstanding norm of the African Union and its predecessor that colonial-era borders should be maintained. Some analysts also note that Somalilanders are predominantly from the Isaac clan and thus ethnically distinctive from other Somalis. The territory has widely been seen as an oasis for stability in a turbulent region. From the Somalilanders' perspective, they have a completely reasonable argument, says Bronwyn Bruton. What a name. Democracy and governance expert. Oh, God. This is what this guy said in 2018. I bet that guy's an interesting one to research as well. Somaliland is trying to break off from Somalia, which hasn't been a functioning country in decades. In 2024, Democracy and Civil Liberties watchdog Freedom House, okay, if you guys know Freedom House, it's like CIA shit. That's U.S. government shit anyway. They rated Somaliland as partly free, scoring a 43 out of 100. And that's the kind of place, Freedom House, will be like, communist country, zero freedom, very sad. Nordic capitalist country, most free, 100 free, all free. It's pretty egregious. It's pretty silly, honestly. So let's see. They said Somalia only got a score of 8, but Somaliland got a 43. So Somaliland's score declined following government crackdowns on those protesting Parliament's decision to postpone the 2022 presidential election, though. All right. So what's up with their finances? I'm an excellent expert in excellence and expertise. That's how it feels, right? So a weak economy and limited opportunities for foreign trade and investment have stifled the government's capacity to provide services to its approximately 6 million citizens. Okay, so they have more citizens now then. All right, so, it's more like, a New York. It's almost a New York City. The Somaliland government reported a gross domestic product of roughly $7 billion in 2022, most of which it receives in remittances from Somalilanders working abroad. Can you imagine if North Korea, if they were talking about North Korea, here they're just like, oh yeah, and then they collect most of their GDP in tax money from Somalilanders working in other countries. Like, we know North Koreans go out and work in other countries and they send tax money back home. And everybody talks about that when it happens in North Korea, as though it's the most uniquely evil thing on the planet and they're all slaves. This is happening. This is a pretty standard thing for countries that have been ravaged by political instability. But whatever. The region's unemployment remains very high, particularly for youth, and officials worry about a potential brain drain phenomenon where educated people migrate in search of opportunities elsewhere. So their main exports are livestock, animal products, and they usually just send it to Djibouti and Ethiopia, as well as to Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and Oman. And it has one of the lowest GDPs per capita. It's just around $1,500 per person, but it's still almost 3 times as high as what's going on in Somalia nearby. The government is ineligible for loans from the World Bank and the IMF. We talked about that earlier. Those would be things that I think would have hindered their economic development. And the president, Muse Bihi Abdi, in an op-ed after his 2017 election victory, said that Somaliland's exclusion from international markets compounds the socioeconomic pressures that Somaliland faces, and analysts say that an anemic economy put decades of political progress at risk. Current President Abdurrahman Mohamed Abdullahi, commonly known as Iro, made economic reforms a central tenet of his 2024 campaign. So they still are negotiating some of their own things, it looks like, foreign investment deals, despite opposition from the federal government in Mogadishu. And in 2016, they struck a landmark deal with DP World of Dubai, part of the United Arab Emirates, to develop and manage the port of Berbera, a joint venture expected to produce millions of dollars in income a year for Somaliland. Landlocked Ethiopia joined the port development project 2 years later. So, in January 2024, they sparked a diplomatic incident with Somalia when they agreed to lease Ethiopia rights to 12 miles of coastline and access to Berbera for commercial and military purposes for 50 years. So Mogadishu is still rejecting Somaliland's calls for independence, and Somaliland is still like, no, we're going to be independent, basically. And it looks like they are really trying to be players on the capitalist global stage. We see them partnering with the UAE. We see American analysts being like, this is an opportunity for the United States. We see them aligning with Taiwan. So this is very, very interesting what's going on here. Now, let's talk about their strategic importance. Their position on the Gulf of Aden near the entrance to the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which is a major sea lane through which almost 1/3 of the world's shipping passes. Interesting. Its coastline has made it and neighboring Eritrea and Djibouti attractive partners for foreign governments looking for sea access and a maritime presence in the region. Djibouti has become a hub for foreign military bases. China, France, Italy, Japan, and the United States all have facilities in the country. Major foreign powers like China, Russia, and the UAE have also increasingly courted Eritrea. Somaliland will likely continue to struggle to build these types of relationships without broad international recognition or a compromise with Somalia. Okay, so this is interesting. And obviously they're nearby Sudan. Sudan and Ethiopia are both having huge conflicts at the moment, et cetera, et cetera. So this is, now I feel like we're pretty primed on what's going on. The questions I still have is, I want to understand the government leanings of current Somalia a little bit better and really understand how it's being positioned. So will it bother you guys if I look that up just to satisfy my own curiosity? Is that okay while we talk about this? I don't know. I don't want to bore you guys. I don't know how boring it is when I do this stuff. Anybody? Is it interesting? Okay. Mogadishu election. Somalia's president Hassan Sheikh Mohammed. Maybe there's a communist party. Let's look at the Freedom House. Let's look at the propaganda report. Let's see if there's a communist party in Somalia. Let's see what they have to say. Let's look at Prol Wiki too. How Somalia embraced socialism. That's from a Substack. Huh. Let's also look up just the Britannica. We're going to get like a well-rounded kind of thing. We're not donating to Freedom House. Okay, so again, Freedom House, basically U.S. I think Freedom House is congressionally funded, if I'm remembering correctly. It's some Fed shit. It's not real. So this is what the United States government basically thinks. They think Somalia is not free. Civil liberties, 6 out of 60. Political rights, 2 out of 40. All right. So let's see if there's anything interesting here. No. Basically what this means is they're just not super playing ball with the United States, usually. Okay. So then let's look at Prol Wiki. So they had the Somali Democratic Republic. The Socialist Administration of Somalia ruled from 1969 to 1991, and that's when they had the revolution, and they kicked out Syed Barre, which we talked about. So I wonder if this was their old president, right? From 1991 that was overthrown. So I'm guessing the current government then is anti-communist, but probably just not willing to play ball with the USA. So kind of like Sudan. That's kind of what we were talking about in Sudan. This would be my guess, and I would look into that more, but for the sake... Yeah, I'll go to Kids Britannica like Danny. Yeah. So we'll look it up more. We have someone manufacturing consent in chat. I got distracted. Who? Preoccupied. Who is it? Sorry. How many people? Is it one? Is it many? Oh, God. BBC article. Oh, it's this Han Fixar Cabin. Are they a fun troll or are they a boring troll? Let's look at the article. This is my problem. Is I'm like, the trolls present an excellent counter narrative that's an opportunity for everybody to learn more. Okay, North Korea tells BBC they are being sent to work like slave. Did you guys look at the sources? I know it's anonymous, but do you think they got the story from RFA, 38 North, NK News? He's a persistent one. Okay. Oh, they're saying we interviewed 6 North Korean workers who have fled Russia. Okay. They detailed blah, blah, blah. We changed their names to protect them. Uh-huh. Conditions are abysmal. Their sources are South Korea. This is somebody from South Korea traveling to interview North Koreans. Let's see. This is about them working in Russia. North Koreans are everywhere in Russia. Let's see. Anything else? Their overseas construction jobs they're talking about. People in South Korea are being paid more than them. This just sounds like they're being exploited by capitalism. This doesn't sound like, this isn't the North Korean government. They're not, you know. Oh, it's Lankov. It's Lankov. Oh, it's Andrei Lankov. Oh, it's 38 North. Oh, yeah. No. I'm so sorry. Hanfixar Kablan. So whenever you see this guy Lankov, Andrei Lankov, he is from 38. I think he's the director at, hold on. We have to see what he is. It's either 38 North or NK News. Hold on. NK News. NK News. Okay. NK News is basically like an anti-North Korean tabloid slop. So you should know that. You should be aware of that, Hanfixar. So they are funded directly by the U.S. State Department. And I'll show you. I actually have a cheat sheet where you can like learn more about North Korea. And on here, I teach you how to look out for this kind of slop. It's literal slop content. I'm so sorry. It's because stories about North Korea generate a lot of like clickbait. They're good for online engagement. So people make shit up. And also it's beneficial to the West, to our political agenda there. So he's the director at NK News. NK News was funded by this guy who previously came from the German Marshall Fund, who goes by Chad O'Carroll or Tad Farrell or some combination of those. He changes his name a lot. I'm not really sure why. But they're basically owned here by an American company registered in the tax haven of Delaware. And their parent company is called NK Consulting. And if you go to their Gov Tribe, this one we have to read the AI summary. I'm so sorry. But NK Consulting is the parent company for NK News. You can see that here. No. And their funding, if you go down, look who funds it. Do you see? So that's the source on this. At the end, it said Lankov. This is him. Department of Defense, Department of Treasury, Department of State, Department of Navy. So this is kind of where you're getting, it feels like you're getting the info from a lot of different sources. You're usually not. It's usually just the U.S. government like wearing 25 different hats. I'm so sorry. I know it's really confusing, especially if you've never really looked into this stuff before. So yeah, for Hanfixar Kablan, that's what's going on here. If you mess up in North Korea, your family pays for price. No, that's also like, again, this is like, it's like tabloid slop content basically, and it's everywhere. So you're not stupid for falling for it, right? Because it's everywhere. But it's not true. It's like, I don't know it's like TMZ but politics. It's political TMZ basically. It's just like gossip rag kind of, but politics stuff. So yeah, like here, hundreds of North Korean workers are believed to be toiling in Poland. They can't even say that it's actually happening on this one because they don't know. This is your other source you provided, by the way. So yeah, this is a UN report. Similarly, the UN report even, this will be really shocking, but I'll show you this too. So this comes from a UN report. So the UN, when they talk about North Korea and the human rights situation, this is usually the source UN report. They reference it a lot. So they'll come out with a lot of different UN reports, and you'll see the sources are all just different UN reports. Oh, they removed it. They removed the original report. Hold on. We'll try to see if we can find it. UN OHCHR report. That's new. That they just did that. I might have to do like here we go. So this is from 2014. That article you sent was from 2015. Where's our actual documentation? Here we go. English. Oh, it's Word. Oh, we didn't want that. We want PDF. Sorry. I think this is the one. No, this isn't the right one. We gotta find a. Maybe we can do like Wayback Machine. Let's see if we can find it on Wayback Machine so I can show you guys. There are plenty of these videos of North Koreans in the Ukrainian war. I think that you might be on some like weird like alt-lib kind of like online propaganda thing, maybe. Like you're watching like drone videos. I mean, are you watching like the weird Ukraine soldier videos that they're posting? Like the psychos, like Azov? Are you like on Azov's YouTube? Is that what's happening? Because that's kind of weird. Is that what you're up to? What about Internet Archive? Yeah, I'll look on Internet Archive if it doesn't. Let's see. If I can download the PDF, I'll just host it on my Google Drive and link it there. Yes, this is the one. Let's see if this works. Oh, it doesn't have the thing, Let's see if we can get the actual just file access. Oh, official document system, UNC, we're hacking. Oh, no, fuck. It didn't work. Never mind. Let's see if we can find report of this. I bet we can find it. I bet we can find it, guys. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this is it. This house. Yeah, this is it. Okay. We found it. I'm going to update my spreadsheet or my little sheet really fast for you guys. This is also in my link tree if you guys want to find it ever. All right. So let's see. Why is my AI overview 2 results below? I don't know. Maybe it knows I don't look at them. Maybe it's like, you don't want this. Well, Hanfixar Kabbalan, it depends on what your sources are. And your sources are important, right? I feel like you're a rational person. You want to understand the way the world really is. You don't want to be taken for a ride by like rich dudes in government who are just misleading you, right? Nobody wants that. And these people, they play us for fools. They think we're stupid. So they think they can just gussy up some bullshit and it'll convince us that conveniently everyone they tell us are bad guys and everyone they love we should support. And you know, that doesn't make you stupid. That means that they're really good at their jobs and they have billions of dollars to donate towards doing this. They're the most powerful entity on the planet. Like, not all of your sources are going to be discounted, but it's a fact that most of the sources we find early on, it's just paid by the US government. And we don't know that because, you know, that's not our job. We're normal people. So it takes time for you to like learn these things when you're starting to look into politics. And it's totally okay, you know, like to have this experience. And I want you to know too, pretty much, I'm willing to bet every single person in this chat, or most of them, has been where you are politically. We all we're like, no, but this is the truth, obviously. Everybody knows this is the truth. And it's not until you start looking at the sources and you're like, wait, what? And you start questioning yourself, like, can I find a source that's not funded by the US government that says this? And really challenge yourself. And that's when you start to kind of pull the string and everything unravels. So I'm super sympathetic to people in this position. You know, you're not doing anything, you're not uniquely foolish, certainly, right? We've all been there. And just the fact is that the more you look into it, you said, I didn't say you were an Azov member. No, I didn't say that. I said, were you looking at their YouTube? I thought like maybe you're falling down a weird pipeline. Like, were you looking at the Azov YouTube? Like, they have this like weird war crime YouTube. It's very, very wild. I didn't say you were a Nazi. I didn't say that. Or a Nazi Jason. I didn't say you were an Azov. I said, are you watching the Azov videos? And they have a deranged YouTube presence, so I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, like, okay, Sister Jaime, or Simmer Jaime, or Simmer Jamie, depending. You're still mad you fell for free Tibet? Yeah, right? Like the Beastie Boys, Bjork fell for free Tibet. Like, you know, this stuff is so everywhere. It happens. You know? So, no, I didn't say Hanfixar Kabbalan. I didn't say you were a Nazi. But, you know, I'm assuming you saw that footage probably on the Azov YouTube, or is it somewhere else? Russian and Ukraine. They're killing each other on a massive scale. That is correct. They are killing each other on a massive scale. And everybody in this chat will agree with you about that. It's bad. But where we would probably not agree with you is that we know it's the United States' fault, not Russia's fault. Right? North Koreans are also being killed. Yeah, North Koreans are going to fight with their ally, Russia, in this war that the United States provoked and caused, that Russia actually tried a number of times to not get into. Russia tried to negotiate, tried to settle, tried to do all these proposals to avoid war for years, and was like, hey, we're going to have no choice but to go to war. If you continue down this path, it's going to be viewed as very aggressive to us. What if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? They introduced so many different alternative ways to move forward to avoid war. And it wasn't even Ukraine that turned them down. It was the United States. And that's wild to think the United States has that much power that we could unilaterally reject 2 other countries' attempts to negotiate for themselves to avoid war. And now we want to swoop in with a peace deal that we conveniently make billions of dollars off of. So this is the kind of stuff that we look at, that we learn. So anyway, so this report, the UN report that was referenced in that article you saw, I just want to show you this. Is this radio? No, this one doesn't. Let's see if this is the Radio Free Asia one. This is a totally different report. It doesn't have it. Let's see if they cite Lankov. I bet they do. This one doesn't have any citations in it. Oh, this one doesn't have any citations in it. Fuck. This isn't the actual report. This isn't the one. Ugh. Oh, yeah. We gotta find the right one. I thought we found it, but we really didn't. Sorry, guys. That was just an overview. Yep, this is the one. This is the original report. I'm gonna link this in here. Hold on just a sec. Let me update my docky. Little docky. All right. So this is the original report that they're all referencing, and it's hard to find them on the website. So this is the UN. Going to the top. This is the UN report. Report on the detailed findings of the Commission on Inquiry of Human Rights in Democratic People's Republic. Okay, this is the Human Rights Council. This is called the OHCHR report, and this is what people usually reference when they talk about North Korea. Now, what's really jarring is that this report cites just outright American propaganda, like a number of times. So I'm going to show you that. And it's kind of shocking to learn you can't trust the UN even, right? But then you remember the UN's like a political entity. They're the reason, right, that the Korean Peninsula is divided in half. Like, they're not like a peaceful entity, and then it all kind of starts to make sense. So for example, here the UN OHCHR report cites Andrei Lankov 27 times. We talked about the director at NK News. It cites NK News directly 4 times. We talked about, right? They're funded directly by the State Department. They cite Daily NK 12 times. Daily NK is a far right, like right-wing extremist website in South Korea that's funded by the National Endowment for Democracy. And you can see that on the National Endowment for Democracy's website. Grantee Spotlight, Ho Park, grantee because they gave him money. He received money from them. And National Endowment for Democracy is also on here. I made this whole cheat sheet for you guys. Where'd it go? Oh, yeah. A conduit for the CIA, basically. So if you have a Washington Post subscription, which I don't think I do anymore, but basically the National Endowment for Democracy was founded by the CIA so they could do overt operations rather than operating covertly all the time. Yeah, and then it also cites 38 North, which is affiliated with the Stimson Center, and their authors include the Deputy Director for Asia at the National Endowment for Democracy, so that's just like a straight-up mouthpiece for NED, which is a mouthpiece for the CIA. And then also it cites literally Radio Free Asia 3 times, and Radio Free Asia was literally created by the CIA in 1951. This is a CIA document from their website to spread misinformation about not just North Korea, China as well, Vietnam, any sort of communism in Asia. And you can see all these documents there. So, yeah, that's where you can learn. I'm going to abolish the NED. We are going to harness the NED and use it to spread pro-communist propaganda. Pizza Prol is correct, right? The reason why liberals, people with good intentions, fall for this type of stuff so much more than even conservatives do is because they care about people, right? And if you guys used to be liberals, you probably know, you probably care about people, and that's why you're like, oh my God, human rights abuses are occurring. Oh my God, these horrible things are happening to people in other countries, and I care because I care about people. And that's how they get you. They craft a different narrative for Republicans and Democrats, right? For Democrats, they tell you it's a human rights abuse situation. You need to care about these people. That's why the United States needs to sanction them, embargo them, overthrow their government, do regime change, whatever. And for Republicans, they convince them that it's economically practical, or it's like what we're seeing right now in Nigeria, right? With they're a threat to Christianity. They hit you where they know you're going to care, and they're smart. So yeah, there's no shame in not knowing things yet, right? There is shame in being presented with the information and refusing to learn more. Liberalism is the default position. We all start there. And I think that's really interesting. When you're talking to liberals online, you guys ever notice that? Like, they really think they're going to tell you something you don't know. Like, they really think that their default position that they have not deprogrammed is something you have not considered yet. They're like, no, you're brainwashed. Here's the reality. And you're like, this is where we all start. We all start here, and then we learn more, you know? You're just starting. And it's always kind of interesting. Yeah, we're going to make NERD, National Endowment for Real Democracy. It's pretty fascinating. But yeah. So, all right. So we're going to hop back over to Somaliland because I feel like we lost our DPRK troll now. This is why we can't keep good trolls. They stay around. We just autism overload on them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Aw, new job. Bell 998. Okay, good luck. Okay, so we're gonna go. Oh, if you push hard, you get banned. So not yet. No, you won't get banned. I like fighting with people. Are there less lib trolls on Twitch? Yes, there's a lot less. Millennial Chaos, is it really you? Is it our actual Millennial Chaos, our king? Oh, he's still here, yeah. Yeah, Han Fixer Kaplan, you won't get banned. Do whatever. Say whatever. Tell me. Show me the info. Let's go. Let's talk about it. This is what I crave. I want somebody to present actually why they believe the things they do so we can go through it step by step by step. And what's really disappointing is people usually don't have enough to even get to that. They just heard it, saw a few headlines, and then once you start to break it down, they don't have anything beyond that and they disappear. Yeah, you only get banned if you say mean things about the last person I blocked spammed a lot. This was on my TikTok too. The things that get me to block people is if they're spamming or if they're annoying other people in the chat. If other people are I can't fucking deal with this person in the chat, get them out of here. Yeah, if they're super annoying. Or if they say fucked up things about people's appearance. One of the last people I blocked, they had been on my page for a while saying shit, and then finally one day they started being super fat phobic to a person who followed me, and I was like, I don't fuck with that. There's no time for that. Yeah, I like the fun trolls too, but some are just really boring. You're a professional. You do not break terms of service. Yeah, that's fine. So just share why you think the way you think. What you do. We don't even ban the boring ones. You could be a fun troll. Okay, Vulgar Scrabble. Fat phobia is stupid. I mean, it just is. It's it's not even edgy. You know what I mean? That's very I'm in kindergarten. You're fat. You know, this is not. I think that I talk about this a lot. We've really lost the art of trolling. Trolling used to be an art. You got to find what people care about and hit them there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm just too literal. You know, trolls will come in and I'm like, let's just talk. I want to talk to you. Let's talk. Yeah. I like talking to people. That's kind of why I do this. Before my regular job. It's 10 a.m. I'm going to start my regular job at probably 11 today. I have a full job. I don't do this, yeah. Okay, so you don't trust the government, which I can agree with. But by that rationale, should we not remove government from education? Okay, so it depends. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with my politics. If you just wandered in here, if you know anything about me, I'm a communist. So I'm a Marxist-Leninist. So what that means to me is that I think that the government as it exists today is bad, right? It exists just to make 12 rich dudes super rich and then fuck everybody else. And I don't like that. But that doesn't mean I think all government is bad. There are examples of government that I think have been good. China lifted 800 million people out of poverty, right? I think that's good. Fork just woke up. Sorry, my dog just woke up, so now we have to do the morning ritual. I think that the USSR took people from a 35-year life expectancy to, come on, Fork, let's go. Come on, this way, come on. To surpassing the United States life expectancy. Come on, Forky. Go. In one generation. By a certain point in the 1950s, they were surpassing US's life expectancy. I think that's good. Literacy rates. I think that almost every single Marxist project, has achieved near universal literacy rates. I think that's good. So, yeah, Chairman Fork has left the building. She potty outside now. So these are things I think are positive. I think that government regulation is good and saves lives, but it has to be the right government successfully regulating things, right? Our government, ass. Really bad. But I have seen examples of governments that work. So the right government, I would think would be good to have in education, to employ standards of education. That's why we see in China, for example, they are kicking our ass in education, right? The average Chinese person is so much more politically literate, right? Better at STEM than we are. And that's because of the influence of their government. Their government has standards that you have to adhere to perform to. Meanwhile, when I was in high school, the Republican Party of Texas had it in their state charter that they wanted to discourage critical thinking in schools. The Democratic Party here in California just made it illegal to critique Israel in schools. Like, these people they don't care. They don't care about us. They want us all to be just like ignorant, mindless workers. They want us to be, our literacy skills in the United States, I'm sure you guys have seen, are like, now the average American is like a 6th grade literacy rate. The reason is that at a 6th grade literacy rate, you don't even know you're illiterate. You can read. You can follow instructions. You can read. You cannot employ critical thinking skills. You cannot deduce things from context clues. You cannot draw conclusions. Like, you are functionally illiterate as an adult with a 6th grade reading level, but you read enough to be able to follow instructions, which is good for work, right? So, this is the kind of stuff that a capitalist government's intervention in education wants to do to you. That's not what a socialist or communist government intervention wants to do for you, right? And I mean, and there is something to what you said here, Han Fixar Kablan, right? Like, teachers today report that, like, parents aren't helping. They're not teaching their kids to read. They're not doing homework with their kids, right? But the problem is that parents are so fucking exhausted. They're working so much. They don't really have the energy to be a teacher at home as well. Back in the day, you used to be able to support a family on one income, right? You can't do that anymore. Both the parents are working. I don't even know how people have kids nowadays, right? When I was a kid, I had a single dad, and the only reason my dad was able to have a job is because we lived with my grandparents, so my grandparents watched me. Parents can't read either. 1, 2, they're working 24/7, exactly. So this is like not a sustainable system. So it would be great for parents to have an active interest in their children's education. Our government doesn't allow that. So, like, I'm guessing by the line of thinking that you're a libertarian. Is that correct? Are you a libertarian? Because this is why I ask. Here's my thoughts about being a libertarian. Yes, we can talk about China, yeah. Okay, libertarian. So here's the thing. If you've got a country and you've got a government, right? We all know the function of a government is to provide communally what people are not able to, right? You have like a disabled person with no family. What are you going to do? Leave them to die? No, you're not a selfish asshole, right? You need a government to take care of them. But in doing and providing those kinds of services to people, the government is naturally going to have to also introduce rules and regulations. Okay, fine. But if you're going to do that, if that's the negotiation we're going to make, if you as a government are going to take away my time and energy, let's go this way. I have to pay rent. That means I have to get a job, right? So if I have to work 24/7 to fucking pay rent, because rent is a shit show that's so fucking expensive, nobody can afford it anymore, and I don't have time to educate my own child, that means that government that's forcing me to work to pay rent, they better at least have an option to educate my child for me. That's the trade-off, right? If you're going to take away my ability to go out into the woods unregulated and just build my own fucking house and live out there and do my own thing, if you're going to make that illegal because of regulation, because of safety codes, which are objectively a good thing, but whatever. If you're going to do that, that means now I got to work a bunch to pay rent to somebody or to pay a mortgage to somebody. That means you're taking away my time. That's part of that negotiation. I don't have time to teach my own kids. So you better provide something to teach my kid for me if you want me to keep making kids. That's the negotiation of government, right? And that's the failure of libertarianism. If you're taking away my right to do things, you better give me a good alternative, Because right now, I think most Americans are like, fuck it, I'd rather go out into the woods and build my own house. But I can't because of regulation. And regulation is good because it saves lives, but we've created a situation where people can't afford to pay rent because of unchecked capitalism, right? So I think that's like the ultimate negotiation, and where libertarianism kind of meets some issues. You have to give. If you're taking away, if the government is taking away your right to do certain things, you have to give an alternative for that. How does one know if they're literate or not? I mean, that's a great question. I encounter this a lot, just in my comment section, and not, comment sections, whatever. People misspell things, people typo things. It's fast. There's character limits. Oh, that's okay. Start somewhere, Hanfixar. Say something. Whatever. Start wherever you want. But the thing I've noticed is it's really people who comprehension issues. It's not so much can you read the words or even watch the video. It's can you comprehend the concepts being discussed, and can you draw from those concepts to like greater concepts? Can you connect things? And the biggest thing is that I think reading a lot actually helps that. Yeah, Hanfixar Kevlin, hit us with one thing you think's wrong. Let's start with one thing. If you do like a lot of things, it goes off track. So my core assertion is basically, if a government has the capability to take away your right to do anything, then it should be obligated to provide that thing that it took away from you on its own. That's my core assertion. Regulations are there to protect the industry that pay. No, that's not accurate, because we've seen deregulation kills people. We've seen deregulation since the Reagan era has killed people, right? You know that. As they currently exist, it's super corrupt. Airline industry lobbied to be able to do its own regulation, which was bullshit. FDA, people working in the FDA call it just the DA because they're like, we forget about food regulation completely. Food in the United States, largely unregulated. That's why we have so many massive E. coli outbreaks, things like that for lettuce and produce. It's just not regulated. The government brings back that brick cheese, I'll be happy. Yeah. I mean, but right now it's like the government takes away your ability to, be a subsistence farmer. Why? Because you can't afford to have your own land comfortably in a place close to where your job is anyway, like in an urban area. Most people can't afford that to be able to do subsistence farming on their own. So they should be obligated to provide you with food. Like they destroyed all the nature that you could viably hunt and forage in to build cities. Okay, fine. So it didn't feed people. And I think this is what people really fail to consider is like the ultimate negotiation of government. What do you want your government to be? And I think the libertarians think that their government that they want is just protect you from war and hands off everything else. But it's not true, because the government, in order to protect you and perform like public community defense, there's certain infrastructure that has to be developed. All these things have to be developed that naturally take away, right, your right to just exist on the land, or whatever the fuck, whatever fantasy we have, right, of going out into the land that both libertarians share and also anarchists share, by the way. And I used to be an anarchist, so I know this. It's a fantasy, because you can't do that. You're a librarian. Yeah. Libertarian for a hot minute, we live and learn. I mean, yeah, it's a journey. It's all a journey. And you start thinking about these things and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. If someone takes away my right to do something, they better fucking do it for me then. That's really it. That's it. That's my biggest thing. You don't get to take from me and not give back. That's not fair. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's where the communists come in. We're like, okay, fine, we'll take from you, but we'll give to you too. And that's why communism, I think, is a rational and appealing position. I stopped being an anarchist for a few reasons. The first is that I realized that everything I thought about socialist and communist countries was State Department propaganda. The more I started learning about propaganda, I was like, oh shit, this is all bullshit. And I'm just saying it like it's real. I'm doing Fed work for free. The more I learned also about these countries and their revolutionary efforts and fight, them going up against the United States, I was like, I have to defend these countries. Like, they've got their back against the wall and they're still fighting. Like, I have to defend these countries. So that was another thing. And also it's just, there's so many things that can't be accomplished with anarchism. You can't accurately defend your revolution with anarchism. You can't accurately ensure justice, fairness. There is this mob mentality thing that happens in anarchist circles where they think it's community justice, and it's not. It's just people viciously attacking a random person they made a scapegoat that week. It makes me think about like the pitchfork mob mentality of justice in communities before that, and how that was actually bad and really bad for marginalized people. Bad for gay people, bad for weirdos, bad for autistic people. Like, it's just bad for people who don't perform with social normalcy. And then also the disability issue. You need a state to fundamentally care for your disabled population. I think that more government being the answer has been done right. I think it has been. But that's because I know my metrics. My metrics for success: literacy rate, life expectancy, infant mortality rate. Literacy rate, life expectancy go up, infant mortality goes down. I think that's successful. So I want to go with whatever does the most of that. And we know that's Marxist-Leninist places. That's what we know. Home ownership rates also. I like that one as well. Home ownership rates. Good. I think people should own their own homes. So those are real concrete things that I look for. Do you have real concrete measures that you look for? Things that are measurable like that? Terms that are measurable? Like, what is your metric for something working or not, right? Or being done right? Because I know my metrics for what's done right. So what are your metrics for something being done right? Freedom. Okay, so like what? What's freedom mean to you? Because that's like a buzzword. People use freedom all sorts of different ways. What kind of freedom? Your freedom to do what? For me, it would be my freedom to not have to go to work every single week to make my boss rich, right? And have them take my money. Economic freedom. My freedom to have health insurance, even if I don't have a job. That's freedom to me, right? My freedom to not die just because I couldn't find a job. My freedom to own my own house and not have to give all of my money to a landlord for that house. That's my freedom. Freedom to succeed, freedom to fail. But what does that mean? Those are very abstract. Like, freedom to succeed at what? What's success for you? What's failure for you? Freedom for you means never working. I mean, but most people like work as long as it's not fuck ass unproductive bullshit work, right? So that's what I mean. Freedom to do what? It seems your freedom is something else someone else has to provide. Food, housing, employment. No, actually not at all. No. I mean, freedom for me, if I'm able, I grow food. I have a small garden at my house. Housing, I would love to build my own house, but that's the negotiation thing we were talking about. If the government is going to tell me I'm not allowed to build my own house, it better provide me housing. Employment, that's a different story. Employment's literally your own labor. Nobody's giving you your own labor for free. That doesn't make sense. You know that. That's something you give. Your labor is something you give. Your employment is something you give. It's not something somebody gives to you. That just makes sense. So again, though, what is your metric for free? Like, what does it mean when you say freedom to succeed? What does that mean? How do you measure that? How do you know that that's been done or not? Yeah, communists want to take your homes, yet the home ownership rates go up under socialism. Exactly. The communists want to give you homes. They want to take homes from your landlord who didn't work for them and give them to you. So yeah, how do you measure freedom? What's your measure of that? Yeah. We don't have the freedom to succeed at all. Your freedom to succeed is capped by your boss's freedom to exploit you for profit. I'm sorry I got derailed with this. I just think this is really interesting. I haven't met a libertarian in a long time. So I'm like, oh, one that's like, let's talk, you know? Yeah, what does that mean to you? Very often, yeah, the Burger Institute Freedom Index sponsored by Lockheed Martin, of course, yeah. And very often when people say freedom, what they really just mean is freedom to, like, talk shit, right? That's what they really mean. When you get down to it, they're like, I want to be able to say whatever I want. And that, to me, that's not that valuable to me. I'm not going to base my whole political ideology off of being able to talk shit. And I'm a person who loves to talk shit. I love talking. I love it. I delight in it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to trade that for healthcare. You know, like, I'm not stupid. Yeah, you probably never thought about it. But that's good. It's good to ask these questions and have people think about it. What does that concretely mean to you? Freedom to do what? And that's why, you know, to have goals, to be able to obtain goals, your goals, the number one rule is your goals have to be measurable and achievable. Okay, you'd like to be free to start a business without jumping through so many hoops. So you have to hire a fixer to get everything done, or build a shed without the consent of your local government. Maybe like the freedom to rebuild my house after the local government screwed up so bad the reservoir. Okay, so you want the freedom to be able to do home improvements and start a business. The business thing's a little different, because the business thing, if you're hiring somebody, now all of a sudden their freedom's involved. Where does your freedom to hire them and exploit them start, and their freedom to not be hired by you and exploited by you end? That's the negotiation of capitalism constantly. Because that's not just you, right? Now you're talking about somebody else. And the only way that they're going to feel comfortable working for you for a cheap rate is if the conditions around them have been created to make them so miserable that they are in dire need and they feel forced to that. So that inflicts upon their freedom. You're taking away somebody else's freedom at that point. The second you hire somebody, like that's, and you're profiting off of their labor in any way, you've taken away their freedom. So that's not fair, right? You know, it's not freedom for you and not freedom for that guy. You got to take into account that guy's freedom too. So that one, that's not universal. That just means you want special treatment, and you want your special treatment to be that you get to hire somebody, pay them fuck all, and then profit off their work. So that's not freedom. Right. I mean, it is under capitalism. They'll tell you that's what freedom is, but you want to be able to exploit people. For your house, I totally agree. You should have the right to be able to improve your house and work on your house. Yeah, I think that too. If you want to build a shed, you should be able to build a shed. Yeah. I think that housing regulation is ill applied. It's not, it's not applied with safety in mind a lot of times. It's applied with property values in mind for your neighbors and shit like that. It's fucking weird. But if you decommodified housing, all of a sudden you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Right? Zoning, etc. If you give a man a job, I exploit him. If I fire him, I'm an evil bastard. So how do I win? So that's a great question. And you individually cannot win under capitalism. You will not be able to be ethical under capitalism. Like, look, I'm going to tell you this right now. You probably don't know who I am. I've run a socialist worker collective for 14 years. I started this business 14 years ago, and I tried to solve this exact same problem. My friends needed a job. I didn't want to be evil and exploit them. How did we do it? So I tried a couple of routes, and the route I ended on is just to give everybody who worked at the company equity, ownership in the company based on how much they worked there, and to pay everybody equally at the company and not take any profit, right? So what they make for a day's work is what I make for a day's work. And that worked really well for me. That's not big picture. That's something that worked at one little small business in California, right? I think it's not going to save the world. You need something bigger than that. It shouldn't be your problem to solve, right? Ideally, in a perfect world, you want to start a business, that's fine. Everything is provided for. Like, the way I think business should work is that you write a pitch, you submit it to a board, right, of other business owners in your area, and you say, this is what I think our neighborhood needs, and they approve it. They give you a space, right, and then you get to run your business, and everybody who works there, whatever, all of you have free housing already paid for, free healthcare. You don't have to worry about all this shit. You just run your business because you're a creative person with drive who saw an opportunity and a need for something. Now, if you're starting a business because you want to get rich, I mean, come on, fuck off with that. That's saying you want to exploit people. You want to get rich off someone else's work. I can't respect that. But if you're starting a business because you're a creative person, you want to put something in the world that doesn't already exist there, or you see a need, or you have an idea or an innovator, that's something that should be supported by your community. That's something that should be funded. It's something that you should be given all the means to explore. And capitalism won't do that. They don't reward innovation in capitalism, right? They reward planned obsolescence. They reward lack of innovation. Good things go out of business. Instant Pot went out of business because they made a product that was too good and nobody needed to replace it. But imagine if instead Instant Pot could keep on making Instant Pots without needing to this forever profit drive, right? If they were supported by their local government. If they were given a free place for rent, if they were given all of these things to help them thrive and really provide a good product to the community. Certificates of need, but it's not necessarily need. You're right. It doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. And also, maybe it's not need. Maybe it's creativity, right? Those kinds of things should be supported. And we find that they are fostered in communist places. That's why the USSR went from a backwards agrarian feudal economy to putting people in fucking space before the United States, I might add, before capitalism, in one generation. because it's exactly the kind of innovation that was fostered and supported by the government, right? So why do you want to start a business? What business do you have the burning desire to start? And why? What's your motive? Because I started a business because I just wanted a job, and I graduated college during the Great Recession and nobody was hiring. So like, what is your motivation for starting a business? Mine was self-sufficiency. I was like, fine, if nobody's going to hire me, I'm going to hire myself. So I'm going to do this. So what's yours? The Russians got to space the same way the U.S. did with Nazi scientists. I'm not going to pretend like the USSR didn't also take in Nazis. They did. But that's not the basis for their space program. And we know that. Like, the USSR outperformed the United States in the space race in, like, every single category except man on moon. And that's why the United States put so much focus on man on the moon. It's the only thing we beat them at. Yeah, Virgo's trying to start a small bakery. That's so cute. Like, that's great. I think that's awesome. It should be supported. Right? Yeah, the USSR also took Nazis. They did. I can show you the USSR Nazi program. The alliance. Everybody's got it. Fucking bullshit. This thing is fake. I mean, it really happened, but it's not an alliance, in case you guys ever see it. The Molotov-Ribbentrop that liberals love to throw at you, they don't understand what it is. That was not an alliance. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so we're going to see what the sources are on Wikipedia for those. This is real. They did do this. The sources on this are wacky. I'm so sorry. I'm just doing this quick for you guys. But it wasn't the level, basically. See, this is a bad source. I don't know what these fucking sources are. This is hard for me to find right now. But it wasn't at the level that the United States did. Yeah, the U.S. made them head of NASA, gave them mansions. Exactly. It wasn't the same. Thank you for that, Millennial Chaos. We literally were like, come have a new identity. And the USSR was like, we can use you, get in here and work. Kind of a vibe. Yeah, also first time chat, tiniest boop, USSR didn't put those Nazis in positions of power. Exactly. US killed a bunch of monkeys just to fail to beat the Reds to space. See? This is why all the vegans should be communists. This is true. I mean, yeah. The USSR, launched some dogs into space. But yeah, that was a joke, mostly on my end, but yeah. Damn, I believe that about Canada. Vegans rise up. All the vegans need to become communists today. We're doing gay, vegan, polyamorous communism over here. That's it. It's okay if you guys aren't vegan. I won't hold it against you. Yeah, I do think that's really, though, interesting about the way that Nazi ingenuity was kind of used, right? Because USSR, they were merciless in hunting down Nazis after the war, and yeah, they weren't doing special buddy deals with these people unless you consider war camp. They did hire Nazis though. They did take Nazis in to do some work for them, which is true. But yeah, it wasn't like what the U.S. did. You're being pushed further and further to the fringe of this community. It's okay. You guys, if you're not vegan, it's okay. You can be the token non-vegans in the community, and the token non-polyamorous people in the community, and the token straights. You can be it all. You can have it all. Okay. Should we get back to Somaliland? I kind of think our libertarian went away. Sorry, thank you guys for entertaining that for me. Yeah, Nazi genius scientists show that being smart doesn't mean being a good person. Yeah, totally. Yeah, very, very horrifying. Oh my God, I saw the Victims of Communism Memorial. Did you guys see this? If you haven't seen it, the Canada one. Is being vegetarian valid? Yes, you're welcome, first time chat. You Mr. Libertarian. I try to be nice. I think every conversation's an opportunity to plant a seed. That's what I try to operate off of. You know? Like, I'm not going to change your mind. Oh my God, Lee Thuggin. Oh my God. Hi. It's like, I'm not going to change a libertarian's mind, but I just want to plant a seed. Just think about this. Did you guys see the Victims of Canada, or Victims Memorial Canada? Victims of Communism Memorial in Canada, sorry. Because they're all Nazi. It's too real. It's like so funny. For anybody who didn't see, following controversy, all names will be left off of Canadian monument to victims of communism. And everybody on TikTok has been like, oh, this is perfect because the victims of communism are literally nobody except for Nazis, which is so true. So this is a story about it. Alarms were raised by Jewish groups and independent Canadian media outlets. The department was told that more than half of the 550 names should be removed because they were Nazis or fascists. Oh, you liked me talking to the libertarian. Good. That's what I do at bars for fun, by the way. I go to a bar and then I meet like a rando and I'm like, let's go. And again, goal is to plant a seed. You're not going to change a mind overnight. Oh, yay. I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad. I like streaming better than making videos. I don't think I'm a good short form content kind of person for politics. Because politics, it's so hard to do short form. People don't get it. Yeah, why are all the victims of communism Nazis? Because the USSR won. Exactly. World War II. It's pretty funny. But, I think the thing that we really need to hammer home is that anti-communism is fascism. And liberals are afraid of fascism. They're afraid of it. So if you point out that hey, you don't have to be a communist, but being anti-communist, that is a fascist technique. That's the fascists doing that. They want you to be anti-communist because communists are the only people who've ever beaten them. It's simple. So I think if we hammer that home, you don't have to be a communist. Okay, you're not ready to be a communist. That's totally fine. The least you could do is not be anti-communist, though. Yeah. It's very... As a libertarian, I am anti-communist. Does that make me a fascist? I mean... Yes, and when push comes to shove materially, I don't think your ideology is fascist, but what I'm going to tell you is that what are you going to do to fight fascists when they're in power? What's that going to look like for you? What are you materially going to do? Because capitalism profits off fascism. You know that. Capitalism profits off fascism. So what are you really going to cut into your own profit at the end of the day to do what's right? Communism is the only ideology that doesn't profit off of fascism. You could be the meanest, cruelest, most selfish, fucked up communist on the planet. You're still not going to support fascism because you don't profit off of it. It materially harms you. It's not about being a good person or a bad person. It's about your motives at the end of the day. You go where you're rewarded. No communist, the worst communist on the planet, still does not profit from fascism. So they are still incentivized to fight fascism. So capitalists can't say the same. The sweetest, kindest capitalist on the planet is still going to allow fascism at the end of the day because they make money off of it. Right? Lumpy Louise, oh my God, hi. Everybody's here. I love it. So materially, yeah, yes. If you're helping them, if you're not pushing back against them, if you're not arguing with them, if you're not fighting them, if you're not literally fighting them, and what do you gain from being anti-communist is the next question. What do you gain from that? Communists don't have power over you. You're not fighting power. Fascists do. So if you're punching down at communists, why? What's the point? You know? You don't gain anything from that. So I guess the question of the motives comes into play too. Why? That's my biggest thing. I'm trying to think if there's like a fringe ideology. Like, I'm not an anarchist, right? I don't agree with anarchism. I think anarchism is dangerous. I think it's a dangerous, harmful ideology. But anarchists don't have power over me right now, right? They don't. So communists don't have power over you right now. So if you're dedicating your politics towards being mad at communists instead of fascists, who wins? And you can be mad at both. Like, I can be mad at anarchists the same way I'm mad at anybody, right? It's like you're allowing in this ideology, you're not really fighting it. I can oppose it. But to be anti-communist is, that's very politically motivated. Fascism and communism were not cut from the same cloth. The capitalists told you that. They're not. They're opposite ideologies. Have you read about fascism? Do you know about like Mussolini's economic doctrine and political doctrine? I mean, capitalists did a real good job with introducing horseshoe theory and all this debunked bullshit to try to make you think that communism and fascism were similar. They are not. And in fact, all of modern history is communists fighting fascists while the capitalists sit on the sidelines and try to make money. It's not socialism designed as a free market. But Benito Mussolini's corporatism economic policy told you that? Should we pull it up? I don't know if you guys have read this. It's quite interesting. Let's see if we can find the actual document. We want to find the actual doc. They don't even quote Mussolini in this. That's wild. Okay, why would you do that? Oh, maybe it did at the bottom. Hold on. No. We're going to see if we can find the PDF. Here we go. Doctrine of Fascism. So you can actually read this, the Doctrine of Fascism, here. And you can read about the economic policy. And you can see it's not a communist ideology at all. And it's actually pretty short. It's like, 9 pages, right? So, they talk about it specifically as being its own unique economic and political fallacy. And it's very anti-communist in nature. Let me see if I can find a section here for us to talk about. He does talk about Marx in here. Let me see if it's... Okay, here. Fascism is the resolute negation of the doctrine underlying so-called scientific and Marxian socialism, the doctrine of historic materialism, which would explain the history of mankind in terms of the class struggle. Mussolini was like, it is the opposite of socialism that I am doing. And he's correct. He created intentionally the opposite of socialism. That was his goal. That's what he set out to do. And that's what he did. This is really the policies here that we're looking at are expressly anti-communist. That's what fascism is. Right? Here's the section from Mussolini that says that you guys can read as well. The vicissitudes of economic life, discoveries of raw materials, new technical processes, and scientific inventions have their importance, no one denies, but that they suffice to explain human history to the exclusion of other factors is absurd. Fascism believes now and always in sanctity and heroism, that is to say, in acts in which no economic motive, remote or immediate, is at work. Having denied historic materialism, which sees in man mere puppets on the surface of history, appearing and disappearing on the crest of the waves, while in the depths the real directing forces move and work, fascism also denies the immutable and irreparable character of the class struggle, which is the natural outcome of this economic conception of history. So literally, everything about fascism is anti-communist. Comrade Hav, do I get posted on socialist subs? Oh no. People hate me. Bye, Millennial Chaos. So nice having you. I miss you. Yeah, that's kind of... Oh, I'm loved on him? Yes! Comrades for the win! Why do people hate... The liberals hate me. Liberals hate me. It's like, I think because my following's so large on TikTok, I'm the first Marxist they've ever met. So anything I tell them, they think it's like just I invented it. And they think I'm crazy, obviously, because there's so much anti-communist propaganda out there. And it's very, very weird. And then when other Marxists are like, no, what Madeline's saying is correct, they then decide that it's like a cult of people worshiping me. They like can't conceptualize that we all just have the same political ideology. So they're just, they get really defensive. I think a lot of what I'm saying challenges their worldview, and they get very weirded out by it, and they get very, very defensive. And usually I'm the first person they've interacted with saying these things. Yeah, I love Hakeem, and yeah, I love all those guys. I love the deprogram guys. Okay, so you're saying it's like Islam, Shia, and Sunnis are both Muslims. They have different view with the same effect. No, there's nothing similar. What do you think is similar about communism and fascism? Let's start there. What do you think is similar about them? What do you mean when you say they're similar? What does that mean to you? First time you saw a video of mine, it was a hate post from a liberal. They really hate me. I mean, it's wild. They make up stuff. They're like wackadoo. I know. Yeah, they have no concept of what Marxism is, this anti-idealist thing. Okay, so you think Marxism is government control of industry, or you think that's what they have in common, rather, government control of industry. I mean, I guess that's correct, but would you not think that capitalism has government control of industry today? The way the control manifests is actually fascism is not government control of industry. It's government influence in industry, but it's still privately owned and privately controlled in fascism. And that's the main difference, is that it's private business with government influence, not government owned or publicly owned. That's the main economic difference between the two. So it's not even government control. It's just the government's involved in industry, but that's true under capitalism too. That's just true in every political and economic thing. Not in a free market, not talking about crony capitalism isn't a thing. You know that, right? Like, how do you differentiate crony capitalism or really regular capitalism? That's not a thing. That's just capitalism. What does that mean to you? What's crony capitalism to you? Like, what's the difference to you between crony capitalism and just regular capitalism? Because in fascism, the businesses are still privately owned. That is one of the main differences economically in the economic doctrine. That's why it was called corporatism. That's what Mussolini called the fascist economic policy, corporatism. He wanted privately owned corporations. Corruption. Okay, so, but what do you think is corruption? You think that government bailouts are corruption? Do you think monopolies are corruption? Do you think monopolies should just be allowed to exist? Yeah, like, why wouldn't corruption exist in a free market? Great question, Hummus Gobsler. Yeah, like, what differentiates that? Bailouts, yes. Monopolies only exist with government interference. I'm going to need a source on that. Why do you say that? That doesn't make sense. Like, monopolies are so much a part of capitalism. Like, let's see about... let's see, a good place. So Adam Smith talked about monopolies, right? Because this was seen from the jump as like the biggest problem that capitalism would naturally encounter. This is AdamSmithWorks.com, right? So he talks about this a lot. And he talks about actually how regulation has to be put in place to stop monopolies from forming because it is the natural outcome of unchecked capitalism. Right? So, I mean, name one monopoly that has no government interference. Like, you know that people actually get sued for monopolies and then they're not allowed to create them because the government thinks that it will break capitalism. Like, you know that, right? Like, there's anti-monopolization laws. There's one going on right now that's actually pretty big. It's antitrust. Okay, yeah. There's one going on right now. What is it? Current it's like a tech thing. Ugh. This is not good for fast. Oh, we'll read it out or whatever. Oh, it was Netflix. Yes. I think this was the one I was thinking about, Netflix. So no, there's like an actual case. I think it was Netflix because I think the idea was like, what's the difference between a service provider versus like, yes, here it is. So this is one of the current ones. So, for example, governments actually intervene to stop monopolization is what happens. They don't usually like to foster it because it will wreck the economy, as even Adam Smith talked about in Capitalism. They have to introduce legislation to stop monopolies from forming. That's what antitrust legislation is. That's why price fixing legislation exists. All of these things are like rules and regulations that have to exist so capitalism doesn't completely break. I mean, it was Keynes' whole thing, right? He was microdosing socialism because, spoiler alert, free market, free hand of capitalism, whatever, just destroys the economy. It just destroys everything. That's how we got the Great Depression. So when we look at this right now, Warner Brothers recently announced an $82 billion sale to Netflix, and now all of a sudden there's antitrust debate going on legally. So basically we have to see if the new U.S. Department of Justice is going to accept this or not. Like, they have to petition literally to see if they're allowed to. Now, major corporations do obviously enjoy government assistance. That makes sense because they're buying government officials. And the only thing that would stop them from being able to lobby or bribe government officials to work in their favor is more regulation, not less. Deregulation, like, explain how deregulation would stop corporations from buying basically politicians to do their bidding for them in the government. Deregulation is not the answer to that, right? How would that work? I haven't seen that meme, but that's interesting. More. I'm doing more. The streaming service deal. That was what it was. Yes. Thank you guys. I'm scrolling up. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, I'm still drinking water. I'm doing it. I'm getting waterboarded. This is the future the communists want. Oh. This is the most water I've had in a year, I swear to God. Oh. Okay, fine. Fine, I'm doing it all. Oh. Stretch, posture check, water. I'm really proud of myself for keeping track of all of them, actually. I did all of those. Oh. Okay. Checking everything, guys. I'm doing it all. No water, only Red Bull, only iced coffee. Also, current partner is a coffee roaster. So yeah, torture the streamer. Have some fun with it. Chairman Fork button. Yeah, and then I have to go get Fork and bring her. That's a good one, actually. I have to go find Fork check. They will buy us into self-care. So true. All right. Should we get back to Somaliland? Should we get back into that? I totally forgot that's what we're doing. We got distracted with trolls. And yeah, I got the ADHD. We jump around a lot. Oh, what was the thing about Danny that you said? Danny's the first person I've ever fed jacketed in my life. If Congress are not for sale. Yeah, so how do you prohibit Congress from not being for sale? With regulation, right? That's increased regulation. Keep going with Fork check. Okay, what are we looking at here in the chat? I do think, I mean, I don't know. That's the only person, again. They're anonymous. They use that weird fucking filter. Literally every single source they use. They once did a thing that was like, here's the only places you should get information about North Korea. And it was literally 38 North, Daily NK, and NK News. And also when they were like, I don't know anything about South Korea or the Korean War. I literally feel like some agency hired this person to just make a TikTok. And they don't actually probably know anything about it. And they probably also are just like reading one article and then repeating it. So they don't actually know about this stuff. Government gets bought off. So solution is to take away their power and give the guys who bought them more power. That is really libertarianism in a nutshell. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, the Danny thing, though, is pretty wild. That's the wildest one I've seen. Guys, do we get back on Somaliland like we did at the beginning of the chat? What do you guys think? Do we do it? Do we allow ourselves just to be distracted? We learned so much. Should we talk about Ilhan Omar? Back to Somaliland? You've been listening to North Korea season of Blowback? I need to listen to it. I just looked at their sources and was like, these sources are good. I'm putting them on my list. Okay. All right. We'll do a little both. Okay. So we did all the backstory about Somaliland, obviously. We obviously see they're doing a capitalism thing. It doesn't seem like they're overtly U.S. backed, but they are trying to court that Western pro-capitalist influence, right? They're trying to court Taiwan. They're trying to be seen as this major player in terms of capitalism. Somaliland only Fork. Yeah, it is interesting how much the free market is dependent on government bailouts and violent exploitation. Yep. And that was the whole Keynes thing. That's why I think that every communist should study Keynes, because he was not a communist and he really illustrated accidentally the shortcomings of capitalism so eloquently. So I think that studying Keynes is interesting, a little interesting side quest if you're a communist, because you learn how to talk to people about the failures of capitalism. So Ilhan Omar defended Somalia's territorial claims, and she refused to recognize Somaliland. Okay. I don't know much about Ilhan Omar, but it does seem like she consistently has more left-leaning politics than I would expect from somebody in Congress. Did she... Oh, you meant to say no, comma, more silly stuff. Oh, okay. She's in Minnesota. Is she a Democrat, or did she run on that special unique party they have out in Minnesota? Do you guys know? Because they have that, what is it? Minnesota Worker Party. Democratic Farmer Labor Party. That's what it is. Minnesota Dems are called... Oh, is that just what they're called? I thought it was something different. I thought they had the Democratic Party and they had that. Or are they not? Is she part of... She's probably part of the squad. Let's look it up. The squad. Progressive left-wing faction. Yeah, that's her, right? There she is. Uh-huh. How is AOC part of the squad? That's what I understand. Okay, so Minnesota Dems are just called the DFL. Okay, I thought that was like, they were like actually, like we have Peace and Freedom out here in California. They're like actually a socialist party. I kind of thought maybe Minnesota was doing that. Another reason to hate Minnesota. They've misled me. They are lying. She was the start of the squad. Okay, interesting. I need to pay more attention to what the Democrats are up to, I guess. So everybody hates her now because she's like, no, we shouldn't support this independence thing. And let's see, it's a scandal now. She defended her support for, what is this act? Oh, there's something about Minnesota was engulfed in controversy after revelations that fraud losses across multiple government programs since 2018 could total billions of dollars. And that has to do with something called the Meals Act. And then now everybody's criticizing her for both? Ilhan Omar left Somalia, but Somalia never left her. In her Somali language speech, she refers to Somalia as her home, not America. She wants to advance Somalia's interests on the global stage. Okay, so she's Somali. Very pro-BDS and pro-BAL. Okay, so she's what a Democrat should be. It used to be Bernie Sanders was what a Democrat should be. She's the new that. Like, this is where the Democratic Party should be if they were actually a more progressive, pro-capitalist party, like in a Europe kind of way. I've seen some of the Minnesota fraud stuff. I've seen, like, this guy went to, like, a closed daycare center and tried to claim it was, like, fraud, but it was just, like, a shitty daycare center or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Fork is so mad at me. I hear her just whining in the other room. She wants me to come to bed. Because we, like, had, you know, a little break for the holidays so I could spend it with my partner because my partner likes Christmas. And so she's just used to, like, hanging out and being lazy all day. We've been doing it for, like, since Christmas Day, the 25th, so 4 days. Yeah. Oh, Han's still here. Talking. The Libertarian's still here. Okay, so it seems like this... Well, I want to see what Trump's policy is on this. Trump on Somaliland. What does he think? Trump isn't ready. Israel, ready. They're all in. Israel is in the Somaliland business. Israel has become the first country to formally recognize Somaliland as an independent nation. Netanyahu announced it, and they signed a mutual declaration in the spirit of the Abraham Accords, which were brokered by Trump. So they're trying to become an Israel ally. Okay. That's what's going on. And then South Sudan, remember we talked about Sudan last week? South Sudan, which was their breakaway state, they became the second country to officially recognize Somaliland. So all these little separatist movements are like right-wing fringe infiltration kind of groups, it looks like. And Trump was looking into it in August, but hasn't done it yet. Huh. Trump told the New York Post he has to study Netanyahu's pitch and asked from his golf course, does anyone know what Somaliland is really? Glad to know that me at the beginning of this morning had as much knowledge on Somaliland as the President of the United States. We were equally as qualified at 9 a.m. this morning to make a judgment call about Somaliland. And now I think you and I, everybody in the chat, we are actually more qualified than Donald Trump to have an opinion about Somaliland. Yeah, on Twitter last night, everything was about it. Yeah. Our colony is doing colonialism. Exactly. Release Fork from the... She has freedom. She can go wherever she wants. She's just choosing to lay in there and yell. That's the thing. All the doors are open. When I tell you this dog is deranged, she's literally just, like, upset and, like, moping, but won't come in here. It's so funny. Yeah, the UAE supports Somaliland, exactly. Yeah. So, the breakaway has allegedly eliminated radicalism and aligned itself with the U.S. Yeah, okay, so this is their little capitalist blah, blah, blah. That's what's up. All right, so I think we finished the Somaliland thing. You know, Somaliland is trying to position itself like a Taiwan, like an Israel, like a far-right extremist kind of breakaway state. And it seems like they're getting traction. She's a dachshund. I know. Free Fork. Ugh. She is just... And it was the strip. Oh, it was the. Oh. Yes. I know this one. Actually, this is on my document. The strip club Uyghur thing. Oh, this thing is wild. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. So I have a resource doc on this, so you can learn more. China already freed Fork. So this thing that Comrade Angels is saying, is very, very interesting. So the evidence that people often give for the Uyghurs, is very, very fascinating. And you'll see that it's really silly. So I have this section on my resource doc called Unsubstantiated Claims and Disinformation. And I believe one of these, yes, it's actually from Taiwan. It's from Twitter. People were passing this around saying that this was from Uyghur genocide. China has been keeping world record techniques to torture, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if this is the same one you were talking about. This is from a BDSM club in Taiwan. Literally somebody was like, this is torture. I'm like, this is kink, babes. This is kink. Yeah, I'll send it. Hold on. Oh my god, I'm not able to. Yeah, it's pinned. I don't think I can add it in here because of the way I did the chat. I'm not able to chat with you in here, I don't think. Oh, no, it doesn't let me copy and paste. Is that a thing on Twitch? They don't let you copy and paste? Maybe I can make a tiny URL. And then I can just type it. Yes. No, this is so wild. It's egregious. They changed tiny URL. All right. So I'm going to type this in for you guys. It's weird about links, yeah. Yes, it was a BDSM club in Taiwan. Yes, this is BDSM club in Taiwan. So I have this whole document in here. If you guys are interested, it is all about the Uyghur thing. And the section that will piss you off the most is the skepticism thing. So all of these are the most common things you'll see on the internet, just like slop content, trying to make these claims about whatever. So these are all kind of the ones I found that were debunked. This one is another one that's really bad, and like that it's ridiculous. So here, this is a tweet that was passed around. China fascist kills Muslims Uyghur in East Turkestan, and they blur it out, and it does kind of look like blood and bodies. But then here's the unedited, and it's really like jars of wine or jars of sauce or something. The audio's still playing? Sorry. I couldn't hear it. Sorry, guys. I closed it. You can't hear it anymore, right? No, is it closed now? I couldn't even hear it. It wasn't even playing for me, just you guys. It was like white noise. I miss it. Oh. Okay. We'll look at some of the others. So this is like ADHD politics chat. We're just bouncing from topic to topic. I'm really liking it. Okay. So yeah, here's this one. This was some boxes of sauce. You're moaning. What else? What's this one? Oh, here is this BBC video. I don't know if you guys saw this. We probably can't watch the whole video because it takes too long, but it's the BBC showing up at like a camp. It's an 11-minute video, and they're like hoping to like catch some bad stuff. And then if you watch this video, it's so fucking funny. You can tell they're like really disappointed that it just felt like a normal school, like a boarding school. So that one's pretty funny as well. That's pretty bad. Okay, this one. Let me see. I think this one's pretty good. This one is supposed to be of a Chinese soldier beating a Uyghur woman, and it's not. This is actually let me see what this one actually was. This one's pretty brutal. You don't have to like watch that one, but this is a video from 2017 of an Indonesian soldier beating up a thief, which I didn't know Indonesia went that hard on their thieves, but it's pretty wild. So that's a fake one too that's on here. Okay, what else? Okay, this one's pretty egregious as well. So this one is supposed to be of Uyghurs being detained in detention camps. It's actually different protests in Istanbul and something in Thailand from 2018 and 2014. And it's like, these aren't even the same ethnicity of people. Like, you could tell people really don't know what Uyghur Muslims look like either. They're just like, yeah, they look like they could be Muslim. This is not what Uyghurs look like. Like, they look like, if you guys look at that guy Lucifer on, but, you know, Lucifer, like, no, this isn't what they traditionally look like even. I want to find the guy. The guy's, I'm not going to lie, this guy's super hot from Red Note. Is he going to pop up anywhere? He never pops up. Ugh, I don't know where he is. Do you guys know who I'm talking about there from Red Note? Basically, the whole Uyghur thing is lies and no evidence of ever. Yeah, it's basically, it's based on China doing counterterrorism measures of actually transformative and restorative justice in the Xinjiang region for people who got kind of sucked into like an alt-right pipeline there for something called the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, which is like ISIS, basically. They're affiliated with ISIS in some ways. And they are actually not just in Xinjiang. They're like spread across 7 different countries. And so they basically introduced alternatives to incarceration in prison for people convicted of religious extremism related crimes there. So instead of going to prison, you could go to these vocational centers and they'd get you jobs and job trainings and reconnect you with your family and your community so you didn't want to commit crimes again. And it was super, super, super effective. But Donald Trump basically paid this right-wing fringe German dude named Adrian Zenz like $600,000 to create this bogus conspiracy theory bullshit claim that they were actually concentration camps, not really colleges or schools. And I don't know. And then he tried to call it a genocide, and American lawyers were even like, we cannot legally call this a genocide. What are you doing? And it just kind of spiraled from there. So yeah, when everyone was on Red Note and the Uyghurs were surprised to hear they were being genocided. Yeah, he is very handsome. I wish I could find this guy. He's very attractive. He looks like a model. Yeah, I'm plugging Satan. Yeah, they were very surprised when you talk to actual Uyghurs about it. So I have this document here that talks about all of it. And I actually, if you only read one thing, if you only look at 2 things, I'm going to say, if you only read one thing and you only look at one thing, this is what I recommend you look at. So this is from Australia Parliament, because Parliament in 2020 in Australia was considering basically putting like embargo sanctions against China for this. And somebody submitted this one sheet to be like, no, this is not real. And this is a really good one sheet that I totally recommend. And it starts, repeat a supposed fact sufficient at times and it will become the assumed truth. This seems the case very much when it comes to claims about China's oppression of the Uyghurs in the western Xinjiang province. Supposedly 1 million or more Uyghurs have been imprisoned in vast re-education camps, with the term genocide being frequently used. Even the charge of infanticide has been laid. Not all that is supposed, however, is reality. So this kind of goes on about the origins of the story. I don't know what Fork's doing. She probably is. She's in another room, but I don't have real walls. So a man central to this sudden elevation of interest was Adrian Zenz, a fascinating figure to say the least, a fundamentalist end-time apocalyptic Christian fiercely opposed to homosexuality and gender equality and pro-physical punishment of children. He came from obscurity, suddenly being claimed to be an expert on China and Xinjiang. Zenz describes his work concerning Xinjiang as a mission. Yeah, he said he was sent on a mission by God to destroy China. Sorry. Of course, Zenz has significant backers being employed by the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation. So throwback to our Canadian Victims of Communism memorial that couldn't be finished because it was just full of dead Nazis. That's the same group that backed this guy. Yeah. You were sent this link. 20 minutes later, I disproved everything, and it's funded by Australia and the US. Yeah. So, yeah, this article is pretty good. It goes on to talk about how... according to Okay, yeah. According to research carried out by British reporter Tom Fowdy, that organization based in Washington had its income suddenly jump from $2 million to $12 million a year in 2018, the beginning of the U.S. trade war with China and the sudden emergence of stories concerning oppression of the Uyghurs. And I want everybody to know, this is not the first thing they tried. Before that, they tried to claim that all of the cotton grown in Xinjiang was grown using illegal slave labor. And I know this because as an apparel designer, for a long time, people were demanding nothing be made with cotton because they thought it was all made with... Oh, I think you just need to click the thing telling you want results for Lucifer Red. No, okay, yeah, I'll take a look. Thank you, real Georges. So this was not the first thing they tried, but that was pretty easily disproven because a bunch of Xinjiang farmers just posted videos like, why would we use people to pick our cotton? Like, it's not the 1800s. Like, we use these giant machines, and then they had to drop that. So this is not the first thing the U.S. tried. So Zenza's figures of supposed detained Uyghurs, which keep rising, come from reports by Istiklal TV, a Uyghur exile media organization based in Turkey with links to the ETIM, East Turkestan Islamic Movement, a body declared a terrorist organization by the UN Security Council. They're the ones that are affiliated with ISIS. Zenz also cites reports from Radio Free Asia, a US-funded news agency created by the CIA. And this is a good one sheet that they talk about it. So if you look at this is good. And then, first strike on land happened. Did this just happen? 12:29. It did. Wait, taking a break. Oh, thank you for sharing this. 12 minutes ago. Breaking news, everybody. Hold on. Donald Trump said that the U.S. hit an area in Venezuela where boats are loaded with drugs, which would mark the first known time the United States has carried out operations on land in Venezuela. Wow. Trump has previously said he authorized the CIA to carry out covert operations on Venezuela. No shit. On a radio show last week, Trump made vague comments about an apparent U.S. operation against a big facility in Venezuela. The CIA, White House, and Pentagon have not publicly elaborated on these comments and declined to comment on questions posed by Reuters. Wow. Ugh, it's so fucked. Ugh. This was this morning. I didn't see it. I've been on with you guys since I woke up. Yeah, this is very, very, very sad. Venezuela hasn't commented on it yet. Ugh, I have that sinking feeling too. I fucking hate this so much. Sorry. I get like very emotional about this shit. It's horrible. Okay, well, I guess we'll stay tuned for updates on that. It's such a bummer. We got to figure out a way to talk to liberals about Venezuela. I mean, anti-war used to be a cause that would bring in liberals, regardless of what it was. Like peace, like liberals love peace, you know? So we got to figure out a way to get them in on this. Like, this should be something that we can recruit our liberal neighbors to care about. Hands off Venezuela, you know? So I got to work on some techniques. Yeah. All right. I have been streaming for a little bit. I'm a little late. So I'm going to finish up this Xinjiang thing. And then maybe tomorrow we'll talk about what's going on in Ukraine. And we'll see if there's any updates on Venezuela. Does that sound good to you guys? What happened to liberals? I said this in a video, but I was not surprised, I was not prepared for how quickly liberals would go full right-wing fascist. Like, we know they're right-wing, we know that, but they used to at least pretend, and I was not prepared for how quickly they would even drop the guys in the pretense of caring, and just go full-blown right-wing, like mask off right-wing. We could talk about claims of Chinese imperialism in Africa tomorrow. Yeah, we can do that. That's a good one too. Let's talk about that. Yeah, liberals we know they're right wing, but now it feels like they're not even trying to hide it. You know? Okay, sappy values test. Okay, we'll do that. I'll show you the one other thing about this Uyghur thing. I've never done the sappy values test before, so we'll do it. Okay, so let me see. We're looking for a map. This is the map I usually tell people, like, hey, if you don't want to learn anything about the Uyghurs or Xinjiang, we got a new subscriber, Sal, yay. I tell them to look at this one map, And blue are the countries that condemn China's policies in Xinjiang. Red are the countries that support it, that support China. And what do the blue countries all have in common? They're probably the same countries that will support us doing what we're doing in Venezuela, if I had to guess. They're all Western countries or U.S. allies, like Japan. Japan always at the scene of the crime too, right? So, Crackerland. Thank you. Exactly. This map is in the resource doc. Yes. You are correct. Marxist Gamer Zero. Crackerland plus Japan honorary Crackerland. Right. Like, I don't know what's going on over there. So this map is really, really useful. And this is from 2020. Argentina's political situation has changed since then. So that might be why I know Argentina. So, yeah, I don't know. This helps. And it's like, if you want to stand with Muslim people, send people this map. Tell them that. Say, if you want to stand with Muslim people, look at where the Muslim people stand. Look at where the predominantly Muslim countries stand. If you want to stand with white people, if you want to stand with the United States and white people, fine. Agree with Donald Trump if you want. And that's how I've been getting through to liberals. I'm like, that's a Donald Trump conspiracy theory. That is not something Muslim people agree with. That is something white people in the United States say. And this is helpful. So, yeah, that's on the doc. Okay, we'll do this sappy values test. And then that'll be my last thing before I actually have to start my work. The thing is, I started doing all this like before I even get ready for my day. So it's like, I haven't showered. I haven't like gotten ready, you know. Sappily. I was saying sappy. Sappily. Okay. Crackerland. Yes. It's only 1 month though. Yes. Oh yeah, you can get a free sub if you sign up for a free trial month of Prime. Yes. Haha. All right. It is a political compass test. There are 46 questions. Click here to start. Let's go. All right. Proceed. Shuffled. Why not? The smaller the government, the freer the people. I'm going to say I strongly disagree. All industry and the bank should be nationalized. I'm going to say I agree. I'm not doing strong agree because I think that you got to build up to that, right? I think there's a transition, so I see why you might not do that all the time. Also, in Marinalita, Spain, they let families have one business, and I'm like, that's fine. I think that's fine. But there is a really funny story about a family trying to petition to open up a second business. That's like the communist city, basically, in Spain that the federal government agreed to leave alone. And they're like, we tried to start a second business, and the mayor just refused to see us about the permit. So I think that's funny. So yeah, it's fine with me. Okay. The harder you work, the more you progress up the social ladder. Is this a question about like as it stands now? I think no. Strongly disagree. Exploitation is an outdated term as the struggles of 1800s capitalism don't exist anymore. Strongly disagree. Which are pretty obvious. Homosexuality is against my values. Strongly disagree. Mandatory ID should be used to ensure public safety. I would say disagree, but I wouldn't be so worried about it under communism, you know? I will VOD this later. Yeah, I will. Wages are always fair as employers know what's best for workers' labor. Strongly disagree. In times of crisis, safety becomes more important than civil liberties. I do actually agree with that. And I think that's why we see some social repression in countries fighting off American empire. Charity is a better way of helping those in need than social welfare. Strongly disagree. Jury nullification should be illegal. Is that like when you say, like, I can't join the jury? Yes, I drew all of these. Yes. Now you can use the emotes. Yes. Also, I drew fork as a screensaver. Hold on. Let me see. I'll show you guys really fast. To use before we log in now. So there you go. Okay. So when you refuse to pass a verdict. Oh, should be legal. Okay. God, I don't know about that. I'm going to say neutral. I don't feel like I know enough about that. I'm not sure. Okay. Organizations and corporations cannot be trusted and they need to be regulated by the government. Strongly agree. Without democracy, a society is nothing. Okay, this is hard for me because I don't know. This is where the autism comes out. What do you mean by democracy? Do you mean actual democracy, or do you mean the way that capitalism uses democracy? Also, is it an informed democracy? How propagandized are the people committing to this idea of democracy? Do they know what they're voting on? How up to date is their information? Is there a mass educational outreach campaign first? What does this mean? Oh, like the dude who threw the sandwich at the federal officer and wasn't convicted. I like that. I'm in favor of throwing sandwiches at federal officers. So I don't know. I should have changed that maybe, but that's okay. I'll keep to it. Without democracy, a society is something. I'm gonna say neutral on this because I can see this going both ways. I think that sometimes it's more important that your people are alive and safe and that they need to live, and democracy can be on the back burner for a little bit. Taxation of the wealthy is a bad idea. Society would be better off without it. Strongly disagree. A lot of Marxists don't know this, but actually Marx and Engels thought the first step to implementing socialism would be heavy taxation on the rich people that were left. That's obviously not the only step, though. So when people are like, well, socialism isn't heavy taxation, it kind of actually is a little bit. It's just not all that. It's just a part of it. So the government should be less involved in the day-to-day life of its citizens. I actually disagree with that because I think that kind of idea that's like, oh, like the government's not your mommy actually harms people. Like, I think they should be more involved. I need the government to be our mommies. Government should be less involved. Disagree. It is human nature to be greedy. Strongly disagree. Is this like literally just like how neurodivergent people deal with tests like these? Or like, what do you mean by that? Economic inequality is too high in the world. Strongly agree. A person should be able to worship whomever they want or whatever they want. Strongly agree. One cannot be moral without religion. Strongly disagree. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Strongly disagree. Nudism is perfectly natural. Where? I don't think nudism is really natural in Siberia. What the fuck kind of question is this? Neutral. Some places maybe. Sometimes it is right that the government may spy on its citizens to combat extremists and terrorists. Controversial. I agree. I actually agree with this, yes. Authority figures, if morally correct, are a good thing for society. Agree. Multiculturalism is bad. Strongly disagree. Communism is an ideal that can never work in practice. Strongly disagree. Animals deserve certain universal rights. Agree. Laws based on cultural values rather than ethical ones aren't justice. Agree. Parents should hold absolute power over their children as they are older and more experienced. Disagree. Gender is a social construct, not a natural state of affairs. Strongly agree. Engels on the family. Society requires structure and bureaucracy in order to function. Strongly agree. Two consenting individuals should be able to do whatever they want with each other, even if it makes me uncomfortable. What are they doing? Oh, it's probably just being gay, right? That's probably just gay. Yeah, this is how neurodivergent people take tests. I'm like, yeah, whatever this person said, that's what I'm doing. Trying to think about what they mean by the test. Blue Rose Moon, that's like me. I'm like, what are they getting at with this, though? Or cannibalism. You know what? I think if you and your buddy want to cut each other's flesh off and eat each other, you should be able to. But I can't trust that you're making that decision in sound mind. So I'm going to say soft agree. The police were not created to protect the people, but to uphold the status quo by force. Strongly agree. The current welfare system should be expanded to further combat inequality. Strongly agree. State schools are a bad idea because our state shouldn't be influencing our children. Strongly disagree. Drugs are harmful and should be banned. The anarchist in me is like, no, free them all. But then I went to Portland, Oregon and saw what decriminalization without accurate resources did for people. So this is not just a cut and dry. You can't just decriminalize and walk away. I'm going to go disagree. Soft disagree, though. Is it gay or cannibalism? A government that provides for everyone is an inherently good idea. Strongly agree. An individual's body is their own property and they should be able to do anything they desire to it. This is hard too, though, because I'm like, sometimes you don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're desiring. You're not in sound state of mind to make those decisions. So I'm going to say agree, but soft. Victimless crimes should still be punished. I'm going to say disagree. Only the government can fairly and effectively regulate organizations. I don't think only the government, but that's who I want doing it. What do you guys think they mean by that? Okay, I'm going to say agree, but I think there's some exceptions. The death penalty should exist for certain crimes. Strongly disagree. Oh, unless it's like enemy of the state. But, whatever. Make them work. Make them work at McDonald's. Make them work at communist McDonald's. Okay, freedom of business is the best practical way a society can prosper. Strongly disagree. Class is the primary division of society. Strongly agree. The government should, at most, provide emergency services and law enforcement. At most, strongly disagree. Land should not be a commodity to be bought and sold. Strongly agree. Transgender individuals should not be able to adopt children. I think adoption is bad, though. So what do you answer if you think adoption is bad, not trans people? I'm pro-trans, anti-adoption. Thank you, Firefly. Fireflily. Pro-trans people, anti-adoption. Should not be able to. I'm just going to say soft disagree. Why anti-adoption? It's basically commodification of humans. And when you look at how adoption actually works in society, it's literally removing poor children of color from their homes and like selling them to rich white people. And the amount of money that is involved in that transfer, if you just given that money directly to help the families, they're usually poor families of color, if you just give that money directly to them to help, they'd be able to keep their kids most of the time. It's like very, very rare. Like the adoption myth of like this child in need and nobody loves them is very, very rare. And the reality is that the majority of adoption is just like stealing poor children from their mothers. It's really, really fucked up. On another stream, yeah, we can do adoption. That's the first thing I ever got canceled for, was my take on adoption. That one was really about trans people, not adoption. That's what I thought. That's why I hope I answered correctly. Transgender individuals should not be able to adopt children. Disagree. Okay. Strength is necessary for any government to succeed. Strongly agree. Serious? In a serious manner? Yes, but get me to the results. Okay. There's me. This one's better. Usually I end up down here. No matter what I say, I end up like here. So this is like more here. Yeah, adoption's really horrible. And when you listen to actual adoptees, many adoptees are like, they call it like seeing through the fog or coming out of the fog or something. And they're like, oh, adoption's fucked up. Would you support adoption if it was better? I mean, if there was literally like, I don't know. That's a hard question. Adopted kids have a really, really hard time. They usually don't like imprint well with their adopted families, and transracial adoption is really, really traumatic for kids also, which is weird because it sounds like anti-progressive, but like usually when you have like black children being raised in households by white people, surrounded by white people, they don't see other people that look like them. I mean, there's like all these complications that come around with this. So what would you say to do with children that people don't actually want? Should they not be adopted? I mean, maybe it's better to just do like public boarding school style stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's an interesting question because I've only thought about it in the context of capitalism and how it works today. Adoption needs to happen within communities. I agree with that. If it happens, it should be not just like a random person you've never talked to before. If kids end up in a place because of socioeconomic conditions, I think their families need money. Their families need money and resources. I would always rather the money go to them. Yeah. Okay, there you go. There's my resultsies. Yeah, I think if abortion was accessible and people had enough money, there wouldn't be that many kids that were born. Exactly. Like if we made abortion super, super accessible, and if your fundamental needs were met, if you had free childcare provided by society, if you had housing, if you felt financially secure, yeah, I don't think that we'd end up in these situations. A lot of the kids that enter adoption or foster programs literally were taken by their parents, and sometimes, or taken from their parents, sometimes even for their parents like being neglectful, and it's literally just like, oh, I left my 10-year-old babysitting my 4-year-old while I went to work, and like people report this shit all the time because they're super fucking racist, especially if the families aren't white. It's pretty bad. Isn't adoption based on race a form of segregating people by race? So this is the problem, is that people think this way, but the reality is that like racism exists in society. So you can have like your ideals, right? Where you're like, desegregate everything, yes, but you don't want a child to suffer for those ideals. And the reality is that like transracial adoption is very, very traumatic for the kids. So very often when kids of color are adopted by white families, it's a way for like white liberals to pat themselves on the back and feel better about themselves, or be like, our biological children learn so much from exposure to this other culture, but the kids themselves from other cultures get like totally fucked over. Like they get very they have to deal with like a lot of trauma as a result of that. So I would recommend, if you guys are interested in this, if you look up transracial adoptees, they talk about their experiences online a lot. And it's not from National Council for that. Love is Not Enough, you know, probably this is pretty good, but they'll talk to you about it a lot. Transracial adoption, and the history is rooted in basically ethnic cleansing in the United States, taking black children, take native children, especially taking native children here and in Canada as well, that practice, and putting them in white homes. And a lot of times it was done almost as a social experiment. Like if you take a native child and you put it in a white home, will the child end up like us, like good, like white people? That's like kind of the mindset that went into it a lot too. It's very, very weird. Hi, comrades. Okay. I think these were more accurate because Political Compass always puts me down here, and I think it's just because I'm gay. You like left values more? Yeah, I like left values. We could do a left values one next. Maybe tomorrow we'll do left values. Gay and want a child but don't want pregnancy. I think just remember you're not entitled to a child. And that's really, we think about adoption a lot. We position it in those ways, right? Like, but my rights as a potential parent, it should be about the kid. It should be about taking care of a child first. So I think remembering like, you're not entitled to a kid, right? You're not, especially not if it hurts that kid or harms them. You know, so I would encourage you to think about options other than adoption in your own life for having a child. You know, my partner was asked recently to be like a sperm donor for lesbians we know who wanted to have a child, because my partner is non-binary, but you know, that's their biological sex. And you know, things like that I think are viable options to have your own child and raise your own child in your home. Sorry, Fork's mad. But yeah, I think just thinking about it, you have to reframe your focus. A lot of times we talk about families who want kids and can't have them, and that's actually a really harmful way to think about this. You got to think about what's good for the kids. And nobody is entitled to own a child, right? To get a child, to acquire a child. That's human trafficking at that point. And we talk about this too, not just with gay people, right? That's a thing, but also like infertile women. But it's like, but how am I going to have a child? I'm infertile. And it's like, well, that's a bad hand to be drawn, but you don't mess up a kid because of that, right? You know, so it's a hard ethical thing, but you got to think about it that way. Yeah, raising non-white children around white children is a ripe environment for developing self-hate. Exactly. And this is what transracial adoptees will talk about. They'll talk about how it was a very, very traumatizing experience for them. And not just in their families, but usually in their neighborhoods. I mean, it's pretty destabilizing for them. And you don't put a kid through that, you know, just because you want a kid. That's not right. Yeah. Anyway, very, very interesting. I can answer this question about sex work too. Before I go, I think that, you know, Engels wrote a lot about sex work, and so did Marx actually. I think that sex workers are part of what we traditionally in Marxist ideology consider the lumpen proletariat, and some Marxists think the lumpen proletariat doesn't have revolutionary power and capacity. I don't think that's true. I think that sex workers actually understand selling your, like, what it means to sell your body as a labor force more than the average worker does. So they are more inclined to be radicalized because all of society's positioning them as selling their body constantly. And they're able to more quickly equate that to just labor, because they're like, well, it's just my job, you know? And that puts them in a position to be very ripe for understanding Marxist principles of what it means to sell your labor, right? What that means, what that looks like. So that's my position on sex work. I think that probably, here's my thing, in a say we've got communism, we've got socialism. Once you start providing people with free housing, free healthcare, everything they need to live a good life, guaranteed right to work or whatever, I feel like most people might not choose that job. And most people who do it now might not choose that job. And that's totally fine, right? But I can't say for certain not everybody would. I can't say for certain there aren't people who do that job and just love their job. So I kind of feel like I don't necessarily need to have a firm opinion about that. But what I can say is that we're all aware that sex work comes from, patriarchy, right? We're all aware that it comes from capitalism already commodifying women in particular, right? Like, we know that. So the question is, what's useful? And I can tell you right now, it's not useful to criminalize sex work, especially in our current capacity. It's very, very harmful for sex workers. I can also tell you that sex workers have a great revolutionary capacity and potential. They are smart, they are aware, and that, like any job, there's a difference between trafficking and a different kind of labor relationship, and that it's only in sex work that we tend to conflate the two. Sorry, the thumbs up thing. And we tend to act ignorant, like we can't understand that there's a difference between trafficked labor and regular wage labor, things like that. And I'm not sure why we do that in a sex work capacity specifically. So, that's kind of the take on that. I don't think it is useful for communists to critique sex work or support the criminalization of sex work at this juncture. Maybe in the future, maybe if everybody's needs are met in society and we reach a point where nobody wants to do that job realistically, that's a huge hypothetical. But right now, it does not help anybody to criminalize sex work. I also don't think it helps anybody to demonize men who pursue sex work. I think that's harmful. I have many friends who are sex workers, for the record, and they do not benefit from society shaming men into not using their services. That harms them as well. So that's kind of my position on it, Yeah, I think if you want to follow a sex worker who's a Marxist, Raina Hendricks, excellent resource. Talks about all of this. Talks a lot about it from a theory perspective too. Great. And I think there are a lot of sex workers who are great comrades who will talk to you about this. Yeah, that's kind of my thought on that. Oh, found me today. Oh, welcome. Okay. All right, everybody. I got to go start real job now. It's 11:30. I went a little late. Thanks all for being here. And I'll be here tomorrow morning as well. Bye.